All right, we're live. All right, so we got State of Exile Podcast episode 18 here. On Skype, he's called Tom Jones. Ghudda's here with us. He all requested to bring some alcoholic beverages. This is going to be a nice, chill, laid-back episode. Ghudda, thanks for coming around.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks for having me. It's a pretty good honor to be here. I thank the Academy. It's been a long road. Third time I'm saying this, but, never enough times.
And I'm going to make my same joke again from take two, was that it wasn't actually a long road, it was more that you just had minus 500% move speed, which makes it seem longer.
Well, drinking
funny
too much will have that effect. So.
Good stuff. Ghudda, the mad scientist of PoE, it's great to have you on here, man. So what do we got today, Zana?
Well, today we're going to be, of course, discussing what we've all been up to. We got the patch 1.2.4 discussion, which, as you guys know, was a huge patch. We've been waiting a while for this friggin' patch, the lightning patch, per se. We got the new race season we want to discuss, race season 9. We got some ups and definitely some downs about this season. And we're going to get to pick Ghudda's brain on what some craziness he's got in store for us. And, of course, he wants to put his 2 cents about fishing in Path of Exile, something that's very prevalent right now.
Naturally.
So without further ado, I want to do some thank yous. I want to thank Grinding Gear Games, again, for helping out with our podcast. They've given us some MTX to give away after this. They've also graciously watched this podcast and taken some of our advice, or even just like words from the community to heart. And we're internally grateful for that. Also, Twitch, you're awesome. You've been helping us out quite a bit too with getting PoE on that front page, getting PoE the recognition it deserves. And lastly, the viewers out there, much love and respect to you guys for tuning into these week after week. So without further ado, let's kick this off. Introduction, what's everyone been up to? So Ziggy.
Let's start with Ghudda.
Oh,
let's start with Ghudda, because we've been doing all the same thing, us three.
Okay. I've been trying out a Flicker Staff guy. I was thinking, like, if you can get enough damage and just Flicker Strike once, Herald of Thunder, just proliferate everything. You get Build of the Week instantly if you did that. So that's what I've been working on. And there's also I want to make like a stun bow character where you have like Tornado Shot, with, like the Craghead and all the other types of like stun or threshold reduction type items and nodes. Like Stun Mastery, which is right next to Unwavering Stance, so you could either spend 1 point and get Unwavering Stance, or spend 4 points and get Stun Mastery, so it's kind of like a bad node in that respect. But if you stack enough of it, you get like a bow character that can just like stun the whole screen, but stun's kind of worthless because it doesn't do any damage, so fairly silly idea, but if you just have like a dual totem bow character that just stuns the whole screen, and trying to like put that together. I've also been like working on a... Yeah,
I have to say, there's a lot of like bow stun stuff there, isn't there? There's like nodes, there's like uniques, there's like so much there. Someone really wants a bow stun build to happen.
Yeah, like there's the bow stun nodes, and then there's like the mace stun nodes, and nothing else has stun nodes, and that's it.
I'm assuming you're going to use Warlord's Mark in this spec?
Warlord's Mark?
Yeah, it adds stuns now. It took the vulnerability stun effect to it.
Oh, okay. So yeah, probably like that. And you get like a lot of stun threshold reduction, like 130%. And like that's enough to do stuns with like no damage at all. And like Tornado Shot just kind of hits everything anyways. So like you could probably reduce the damage and have like dual totem, Tornado Shot, stun totems.
If you can perma stun things with a Quill Rain, I'll be very happy. I will like that video and share it.
I'll try
stunning everything with Quill Rain. That's so ridiculous if that could happen.
Oh GMP chain, Tornado Shot, Quill Rain.
Yeah.
But you could use like a pair of face breakers and have all that extra crit multiplier, yeah, face breakers with a crit multi and
1,000 times crit multiplier on 5 damage.
Yeah,
that's like 50
right, just
damage.
fire totems all over
damage.
again.
Yeah. Permastun with a flame totem. It's perfect.
Glorious.
So, besides that, I was working on like a mine character, like Poison Arrow Miner, which I was gonna spec into like Explosive Arrow when I got enough crit. So there's like crit Explosive Arrow mines, so you don't have to worry about reflect. Like 1 mine at crits does as much damage as like a 5-stack Explosive Arrow, and then like prolift that burn. So they're like 1 mine or 2 mines, or as many mines as your like mana can sustain, and then throw a multi-trap with GMP Explosive Arrows to just like shatter the screen with like just Explosive Arrow fuses. So you fuse stuff, and then you just throw tons of fuses at stuff. And just like stack the fusing.
Does the damage take off the first hit, does it? So the mine, and the rest just adds stacks to it. That's a pretty cool idea. There's a lot you can do with that skill. It's pretty interesting.
Yeah, so try to do that. Like, I don't know. It's kind of wacky to level up, though. Like, mines are not player-friendly, I would say.
No.
It's like you lay a mine, then you like detonate. It's like, well, it might hit this target, which is useful, or it might hit that target, which is not useful. And then they're like, well, basically lay a trail of mines. Then like when you find a pack, run back into the mines, and just like detonate them.
Yeah.
And kill stuff
You
that way.
you have to stun yourself twice to cast a spell, basically, as well.
Yeah.
You have to place it and then detonate it.
The best time I had playing a mine spec was lightning warp mines. You just drop a bunch and then you detonate. And it's like it's like when you have those pack of the piety mobs and they all just lightning warp right on top of you. It's that same effect.
Can we get that sound effect again? Thank you.
That's something you would do.
I know, that's fine. It's weird being on the other end of the spectrum.
Man, I can't wait to see these builds, Ghudda. Hopefully you make some YouTube videos and you could say more things like Mjolnir in him, because that would make me laugh.
Dude, it's... I think that's how you say it anyways.
Oxhorn.
Mjolnir confirmed. All right, so what have we been up to, Ziggy? This is your hype. Go ahead, Ziggy, do it.
Okay, so us three have all been kind of up to the same thing lately. We've been doing this Lightning Touch Challenge, which what?
Tendrils challenge.
Yes, aka tendril. So, lightning tendrils. Yes, the creepy lightning tendril fondling. So, with the anticipation of the new patch and a new lightning skill, and us all getting hyped about the idea of lightning touch doing Dominus Touch of Gods, we thought we might make a group thing. Actually, it was just going to be Xeno and Pox originally, but I decided to shoehorn my way in and bring Lifting Nerd Bro with me. And us four would take randomly assigned spellcaster classes. I'm sitting on my mic, and take the new skill and create builds on the fly in a self-found setting in Beyond League. And so far, it's been pretty damn fun. We've had 2 rips in the party. Lifting Nerd Bro has died twice. He died to Merveil in normal the first time with 0 cold resist. That was pretty epic. And then the second time, unfortunately, died to a disconnect. And since then, I've kind of gone like a Totem Templar Tendril action to test that out. Xeno's got some Scion action, and Pox has got some... Xeno's salty about his Scion. I'm sure he'll tell you all about it. And Pox has got some Crit Shadow going on. And I think the project is the challenge is pretty interesting because it means that in a short, condensed amount of time, we get 4 different experimental builds out for a new skill, which I think is pretty good for general knowledge of the skill and how well it works and things like that. So I feel like we're exploring a new skill more than is usually done. So it's pretty cool. But as for how my character's been going, since I think we'll all tell you about individual characters, I got stuck with the Templar. I was originally just going to make a Templar spellcaster, but I thought, since I'm Templar, I might as well do something different and explore the idea of totems. I think totems are in a pretty bad place. Spell totem support gem is in a pretty bad place at the moment. The cast speed penalty to them is pretty brutal, and for the most part, they just don't work that well. The only totem builds that really work well is the prepackaged ones, Searing Bond, Flame Totem, and Shockwave Totem. Those are all really good. Shockwave Totem especially. But any spell plus spell totem just doesn't work out so well. The shaving, so distracting.
This whole time he's been shaving Ziggy.
So distracting. Oh man. But there we go. Wait, finished? Oh, clean shaven. Look at that. Smooth as a baby's butt. Perfect. Great. Awesome. Ghudda is master trolling me. Anyhow, so I'm doing the totem thing. I didn't think it would work very well, but I was kind of hoping maybe it'll be good. We'll see. But yeah, I'm not super impressed. As a support-based character, it's working alright because I've got some dual curse and stuff going on for the party. But the skill mechanically with totems is kind of useless. The AoE is small and it doesn't really hit a lot of mobs through some other mechanic. It doesn't, the cast speed penalty really brutalizes the spell because I think the spell gets really strong with a lot of cast speed. So I think it just doesn't work out well. I think the best way to play is probably going to be crit self-cast with lots of AoE, but totems is just not working so well. But I'm at least exploring it, and I'll try and fix it a little bit over the next few days, but try and do the best I can with it. But yeah, not super impressed with the effects on totems, so I would probably steer clear of that one. What about you, Xeno? How is your Scion going?
All right, so Scion, obviously, everyone knows it ever since the nerf. They're kind of in a crappy spot, and Spellcaster would be one of them. I try to do the best what I can. I think Scion with RF would be really good, but in a self-found scenario, good luck getting Rise of the Phoenix among other gear. However, I decided to take the approach of no crit, max AoE, because Scion has access to that 12% at the start, and a lot of cast speed and just lightning damage. Right now my damage is mediocre in maps, It's nothing amazing, but it's still, in a solo environment, you would have a decent enough cast speed without crit to keep on going. I do the second most damage in our party. Pox does by far the most. And no offense, Ziggy, I definitely out DPS you, and I think that's a lot to do with spell wacko functions, the fact I found a 5-link, and the fact I found a level 17 Lightning Tendrils quality
4-link on
from a
totems with the
lockbox.
skill. It's pretty meh.
Yeah, you need a 5-link if you're going to go spell totem.
2 5-links. Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh yeah, I found 2 5-links in the same map, but one was a bow, which
What that
does
was.
nothing for
And you
anyone.
found a tabula rasa, which you followed.
Yeah, that tabula rasa. Confirmed balls, that's all I'm saying. So, Lightning Tendrils itself, this kind of goes hand in hand with the next discussion. My initial thing with Lightning Tendrils is the base AoE, I think, is a little bit too small. You need a lot of AoE to really notice the range of it. The width is amazing with AoE. They did a great job with that. The past 3 spells that really have been released, you have Flame Surge, Glacial Cascade, and Lightning Tendrils. But the AoE mechanics, Glacial Cascade gets great length, but not really much width, even though they did patch it. Same thing with Flame Surge. And I feel like Lightning Tendrils is the opposite of those. It gets great width, but it has no length. Really, I think they just need to go back and change the base AoE of it. Other than that, the skill's really, really high damage. It's very, very high damage. And Elemental Reflect is a big problem. That's all I really got to say about that. But Scion and the base AoE need definitely a buff. Pox, let's hear about this amazing shadow of yours.
Alright, so first off, I'm playing a Crit Tendrils. It would be more efficient as a Witch, though, just because as a Witch start, you could get the 40% mana regeneration and like the 12 base ES, I think it is, and still do everything a Shadow does. For the most part, it's a caster. But while we were leveling, I feel like we missed a couple of these things. Zeno got a Tabula Rasa in Self-Found, so all 4 of us are just partying, like right before Dweller. Like I'm talking about we're fighting Dweller, or not, you know, like right before, and a 6-link drops, and we're just like, what? And it's just like you don't think of that happening. Like it's like what? Because normally like in maps you get a Tabula Rasa and you're like, oh that's you know like an Exalted or a couple you know like 20-30 Chaos, and like here you are getting into like level like 4. So that was pretty insane. And then on our journey, I'll tell you guys a little story here. Karma is a big thing, guys. People don't believe in it, but it's true. It exists. So a white 4-link dropped, and I thought it was like a rare because it was allocated to Ziggy. Zeno picked it up, and I was like, "Oh, I'll trade you an Alk Orb for that 4-link." And he's like, actually, he said that to me. I'm like, "Okay." So I dropped the Alk Orb, and he drops a white pair of boots. I'm like, "Wow." 25 seconds later, a 3 Dragons drops, allocates to me, and I'm like, "Well, okay, guys, all right, time to go freeze build." So essentially, for our group, I'm really squishy, but I'm rocking like 4 almost 500% crit multi. Doing really good damage, like really good. Like, I could map solo efficiently, no problem. The only thing that I would lack in is AoE, but if I had a 5-link, I could use AoE. So currently, right now, of course, Self-Found, you're limited to what you can use, but I've got added lightning, lightning penetration, and faster casting. I'm not using Echo because it feels inconsistent, since if you get 3 non-crits in a row, that's 8, 16, 24 lightning tendrils you shut off without critting or freezing. So I feel faster casting just more for, not sustained damage, but for consistency. Like consistency of freezing, I guess you could say. So yeah, it's pretty fun. It's really cool to map completely Self-Found like with an entire group. I would highly recommend you guys to try it sometime. It's just this new experience. Like you get excited when you find 91 life and 1 resist because you're like, wow, that's an upgrade from my 50 life. And just a whole bunch of new things to do. Like we were running maps with Devourers and like we don't even have 3k HP. Well, I guess Zeno does. And like when you're running Devourer maps with like 3k HP, it's like what? So yeah, so it's pretty fun, but that's pretty much all I have to say. What do you guys think?
Go ahead, Jim.
I'd like to talk a bit more about the spell itself. I think Zeno raised some good points, is that a lot of people are finding that the skill is ridiculously high DPS, and I think Pox is finding that as well. But the clear speed is not quite there, and I do think that's part of the AoE. I feel like almost like the quality should have been like 10% AoE for 20% quality. That might have helped a little bit, but maybe also the base AoE changing. But then it also makes me think about like the intention of the skill. I know that Rory said to me before the patch that it was intended to be an early game replacement for Spark, especially for racing, so that rather than having Spark be your AoE at the start, Spark can be single target and you pick it up a quest later and you get this one quest earlier and it's your AoE skill. And we all leveled with it in a 4-man group and with no like links or anything else, and the damage was really good on it. do you guys remember like right at the early game there, like
Oh,
first act, really really solid skill. So like the AOE then is pretty decent for that point in the game, and like the damage was really high. So effectiveness wise, I think it's pretty good. But yeah, just the clear speed is not quite there. But I think it's pretty fortunate that Pox found a 3 dragons, because it kind of highlights an interesting point about the skill, that it's actually a better freezing skill than it is a lightning skill. It's a better ice skill than it is a lightning skill, because the freezing, like the strength for perma freezing or perma stunning, that's something we also learned while leveling, was that this skill stun locks like crazy. Because if the first hit is calculated to be a stun, all 4 of the hits are stuns. So you just stun lock things like crazy.
It's ridiculous.
So we were just like, holy shit, we're like stun locking all the bosses and everything with this thing. Like just nothing would be able to attack us. So defensively, it's a pretty strong skill as well. And then with that freezing on top with like 3 dragons. And I saw a build recently that was 3 dragons plus Pyre plus Herald of Lightning, and getting kind of like this cyclical thing going there with freezes and shocks and everything. And that looked really powerful as well. So I do think the strength of it is with freezing. But it highlights kind of an interesting weakness of the skill, I think, is that as a lightning skill, it really, like, mechanically, it would have been better 6 months ago. If the skill was added into the game 6 months ago, it would have been so strong because of the shock stacks. But now that there's no shock stacks, like, getting a single shock on a skill that hits 4 times, it feels like kind of like a wasted mechanic almost. So that's why I feel like it's better freezing. Have you played around with it at all, Ghudda?
Yeah, I played around with it some. It seems like a decently high damage skill. Not like top tier damage, but just like high enough damage. Like, I don't think it's good for like killing bosses or something, but just like clearing trash, it is like amazing for that. So, like, there's that. I don't think it's got a great single target, but like same with like Flame Surge, where like Flame Surge is like really good for just like hitting like a cone of mobs, but then like not really good for clearing AoE. And like, I don't know, it seems like you would need like a second skill for single target. Just like kill all the trash at once with Lightning Tendrils, and then single target at something else like Spark
or something, or Spark.
Like Spark. Spark's it's really strong actually, especially for single target. Like that's like Echo and faster casting and like Lightning Pen. It just like wrecks through mobs. Like you don't need like a 5-link for it.
Can I throw in something hypothetical really fast?
Oh, go ahead.
Okay, this is probably gonna be like
Please no
completely
drop
incorrect.
bears.
No drop bears. No, this is gonna be like completely incorrect because I've never used 3 dragons. All right, Flame Surge deals the multiplier of damage if a target's burning, right, or ignited. Is it?
Yeah.
All right. So if you use 3 dragons with Lightning Tendrils and you use Herald of Ice will burn targets if you what is it? I know it can burn targets somehow because I've been burning targets.
Yes, ice.
Yeah, it'll ignite.
All right. So if you proc that, and then you can use Flame Surge because it's getting the burn damage increase.
They both scale off AoE, but then you need elemental damage. And
Right, but if you just stack elemental and spell damage and not specifically one element, because there are tons of builds that do that. A lot of people don't know that. You could just stack all elemental and spell damage, and you can still efficiently clear. Like Shag is level 97 and can use any element in his build.
You just use Fire Trap.
Well, you could just use
They're standing
Soul
on
Taker
burning
Aegis
ground.
build if you want. Oh, you mean like that?
Yeah.
For the burning ground.
Wow, well that's cheating. We don't want to use trap. That's extra.
It's like I could use this unique and this unique and this unique.
I like-
skills to
Pox is
convert
like
this thing. Well, you can just throw a fire.
Doing this when he just needs to do it's like
I like.
That's
Like
extra
my
things to
lightning.
do. I like my one skill that does everything all at once.
Yeah, I see.
exactly. I just want to hold right click, man. This is PoE. I want to hold
It's
right
like-
click.
It's like I had like a +1 tabula rasa, and then I linked it with like ball lightning, or not ball lightning. It's called power ball, of course, according to the official translation notes. Like power ball enhance, curse on hit. So it enhances all the curses you curse on him as well. An elemental prolift, so it prolifts curses, and then elemental weakness and flammability. So you have enhanced curses as well. With the one power ball, just wrecks the whole mobs. Like one skill to do everything. That's really what we want to do.
You can proliferate curses. What?
No, you can proliferate shock stacks.
Ah.
But then, like, ball lightning just hits everything and makes curses. So,
Mm.
enhanced curses with curse on hit,
Oh,
quality,
Curse on hit.
even
got
better.
there. So let's talk about some other things in 1.24. We got the Herald of Thunder skill being released. Herald of Thunder is, at first, a lot of people were just like diming this thing out, and I think it's a really good addition. It's 25% reservation for a self buff. Added lightning damage to spells is better, obviously, than attacks, but still. Any spell can use it and get extra damage for just a minor reservation. There was always that feel Well, I guess there's Clarity, Grace, and maybe, what's it called? Discipline for my auras as a spellcaster. You never really had damage. But now you have Herald of Ice and you have Herald of Thunder adding bonus damage to your spells.
Yeah.
And also Herald of Thunder, that mechanic itself, if you've ever gone against a Storm Herald and you get stunned into the ground, you can actually link it with the stun gem and continually stun, or there's been Curse on Hit, Mana Leech for your mom builds. I think it's pretty good. Your mom builds.
It's enough lightning, potentially shock with any spell as well, so you can add shock into your build to get extra damage bonus.
You don't need any damage to shock.
Nope.
Yeah, like I had like a staff guy, and the only lightning damage I had was from Herald of Thunder. I was like, oh, I'm doing 70 top end damage with lightning, and then it would crit. And that's like, okay, 100 top end damage on a crit, and it was still enough to kill a shocked mob. So, like, you don't need any lightning damage to shock a mob. At least white mobs,
Yeah.
rares and magics. You need a little bit more damage, but not much. But like,
So the damage addition of the skill is really nice, and is a bit of a buff for spellcasters, and it's also a bit of a buff for Ellie attack builds as well. So like Ellie Tornado Shot and Ellie Spectral Throw and stuff now have another option, which kind of makes up for the nerf to Wrath and Anger. But I think even more than like just any of the damage buffing for different builds is the utility, and people have been going a little bit nuts about things like Curse on Hit with this, but there's a lot more you can do with this spell. Ghudda had some good points about this in the pre-show, so I'll let you sort of take the utility topic, if you will, Ghudda.
yeah, like Mana Leech was probably like the best thing to have, because the problem with Mana Leech is you have to link it to the skill you're doing damage with, which means that you're not linking something better. It's like, oh, I could link, say, this gem, which gives me 40% more damage, or I could link Mana Leech and actually be able to use the skill constantly. It's like, well, fuck Mana Leech, and then you don't link Mana Leech to it. And it's like, well, if I got a 6-link, I would link Mana Leech to it, but then you get a 6-link and you're like,
Oh, my damage.
Yep.
fuck Mana Leech. but Herald of Thunder, you can just link Mana Leech to it, and it just gives you mana, like, just constantly. So there's no problem. The same with, like, Curse on Hit. It just curses things, and you don't have to care. Like, you curse things. It curses everything.
One click, and that's all you gotta do now.
Yeah, like I have like my staff Flicker Strike guy, and like you just hold right click and you have every charge available. Like, occasionally I have to use it during Cry, but that's about it. Just like Frenzy charges generated automatically, power charges generated automatically from Curse on Hit, Herald of Thunder. Just good curses things. So it's like, oh, I get everything automatically. It's like great. It gives you like a virtual extra link or extra couple links, and you don't have to have like the mana to say like curse mobs, because curses are like 70 mana a piece. Like, they're crazy.
Oh yeah.
It's crazy how good Curse on Hit is, and then comboed with this is pretty good too. I think the Curse on Hit thing is maybe a little overhyped. People are a little bit going crazy about it at the moment, because I think curses are really important to get down before you engage with a pack, whereas this only happens after you've at least engaged with one pack, and if you're chaining through. So if you're clearing really fast up most of the map, it's going to be fine. Yeah. So I still think like a normal Curse on Hit setup, like a GM Put Ball Lightning or Arc or something else like that, is going to be stronger and more reliable in a lot of situations. But for builds that getting like just like an extra passive power charges from this sort of Curse on Hit, I think it is pretty nice. But yeah, maybe just tone down the hype a little bit on that. Maybe just a small little smidge.
I can definitely see this getting nerfed a little bit, because remember when Cast When Damage Taken was released, and everybody used Cast When Damage Taken, and you were able to link a level 20 curse to a level 1 Cast When Damage Taken, and vice versa and stuff. So I can definitely see it maybe being toned down or tweaked towards certain builds.
I don't think it will at all. The thing about Herald of Thunder, which makes it so good, is obviously you can put your 0% multipliers on it. But the fact, like Herald of Ice, you kill mob, it shatters, there's no mobs near it, the AoE does nothing. But Herald of Thunder, you go to the next pack, and it's still doing damage. That's what makes it really good. And like in Ghudda's case, he's Flicker Strike. He doesn't know where he's going, he doesn't know who he's going to hit, but he knows there's going to be extra damage there at all times. It's really a beautiful addition to the game.
The damage of the Lightning Strikes is actually pretty significant as well. It's enough that
It's
if
okay.
if you don't have a very large AoE skill, I was thinking like originally with Lightning Tendrils, like, you know, it's a decent AoE skill, but not as good, and it doesn't have that AoE kind of behind you. This is passively killing things behind you. It actually, I've seen it actually kill things, so I haven't seen it too much at endgame yet, but it seems decent, like more than I thought it would be.
It's pretty good for killing our white mobs and definitely taking out barrels.
Yeah,
The barrel
barrel killing efficiency is very underrated in Path of Exile, and I think people are starting to realize that now with this skill. When you get those extra exalts dropping like candy from all those extra passive barrel kills.
Candy.
Like candy. Candy.
Conde.
To be fair,
Okay.
I did get 3 exalts last week from boulders. That's not a barrel. Okay, you got to click a boulder.
So we call beginners luck, Zeno.
Beginners like, get out of here. Some the damage from the skill is actually paired very well with Valstorm Call as well. Something I wanted to clarify on, that these are not spells. They do not scale with spell damage, but they are casts, and they are tagged lightning, fire, or ice. I know in specific Herald of Ice and Herald of Thunder will scale from cold damage or lightning damage, but they will not in fact scale from spell damage. Correct me if I'm wrong, I think that's how it works. I remember reading about it in the patch notes. So they're not spells, they're just cast. Something similar to like Detonate Dead, where it's not a spell, it's just a cast. So don't be trying to make all these builds and stacking all the spell damage and expecting a huge return. They're just specific elemental. So what else came out in this patch? We have the 2 uniques, we got the 2 spells, and then we got the race season. So the race season just came out recently, Ziggy. Yeah. What you've been racing Endless Ledge, but what do you want to where do you want to start with this race season? I know we got a lot of QQ to discuss.
Okay, well, yeah, I've been doing some racing. I've done 2 of the Endless Ledges so far. I haven't done any of the normal races yet, but I'm going to try and make an effort to do some of them, just do some casual racing this season. I really enjoy the process of racing, so I wasn't too fussed about like any of the drama or complaints about like the reward issues or any other issues people have had with the races. I'm like a bit sad that Descent isn't there, because that's another one of the fun races that I like to do. Like I love Endless Ledge, and Descent's also really good fun. So I am kind of like wondering about what is the reason for removing Descent, and I think it's probably to highlight the new race type, which is the boss kills, and maybe also to give people a break for it while they revamp it for the next season. So that's kind of what I'm expecting to happen there. But yeah, I'm not entirely sure what the overall... People are not happy with the race season overall, it seems. But I'm not entirely sure why. I'm just hearing general complaints around rewards and stuff,
rewards.
but it's difficult to actually get the rewards. Yeah, go ahead.
Like if you want to get like the higher tier rewards, you have to just like do every race. Like like when's this race gonna be on? Gotta take time off for work to go on this race. Because like I'm not a great racer, so I want to get like the high tier rewards. Like I want to get the Bringer Rain with the Leafs, and like be like fucking Caesar or whatever with the Bringer Rain. But like I can't do that if I miss like 1 or 2 races a season, because I only get like 5-6 points because I'm not like the best racer available. Like I think it's one of the problems. But
I believe what happened is that they changed the amount of races that they used to have, and they decreased the overall time of the races. Like from point A to point B, like how long the races run for. So there's a lot less races now compared to previous seasons. So people, as Ghudda said, do have to try to get into almost every single race. But one thing I guess I've noticed from a personal perspective, which could be incorrect, but I've noticed a huge buff in the spellcaster meta or racing terminology compared to previously. So previously I could do like Spectral Throw Scion or Spectral Throw Ranger, even though Scion's not as effective, and I could get, relatively easy top 25, top 30. Of course I know what I'm doing to an extent, but it was pretty good. This time around, I've done 2 Endless Ledge races, and I was like 50. Because like spellcasters right now, if you look like back when Shadow was buffed, Scion was nerfed from that, Spectral Throw I think was nerfed a little bit, Ice Nova was buffed. All of these implicit buffs that have been happening to spells kind of are pretty ridiculous, and I guess that's kind of from a standpoint where I see. Maybe I just need to change up my style and whatnot.
Well, Pox, something else. Spells, they've all had their mana reduced too.
There you go as well.
Big problem.
Well, every skill has.
Yep.
It's not just spells.
Endless Ledge, though, like the reason spells feel so strong in Endless Ledge is because of the RNG. Like playing an attack-based build, if you don't get any weapons to drop for you, then you lose. But a spellcaster build's always going to be fairly reliable. I mean, I've done 2 now, and I pretty much had white weapons the entire time for both my spellcasters. But it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Like,
Fire
sure,
Trap,
I missed
Ice
out on
Nova,
Flask. But yeah, Fire Trap, Ice Nova, Stormcall, like all those, like you don't need to mitigate some of the RNG of the race, which is for me a lot of the fun part. I love the RNG, but from a competitive standpoint, not so much. So a lot of people talking about the 2-hour fixed seed famine race, which is the signature race. I think for the general casual racing community, so people that just like to do a couple races, maybe earn some of the mid-tier rewards, it's not a very exciting race. I'm like, fair enough, it's not exciting, but the idea is that it's supposed to be a competitive race. Like Fixed Seed is built like it is because it's competitive. It's more competitive for the races like Helm and the people that really like to be based on player skill versus player skill, as little RNG as possible. However, lockboxes are still completely RNG, even in the Fixed Seed race. So the objective of that was to be competitive, but then it's a lot less competitive because if you get a good lockbox with a Quicksilver in it, then you're still going to win. Like, there's always going to be that level of RNG
is
there.
RNG.
Yeah, but
I think the big
lockboxes
problem is
added a huge extra thing to that, I think.
Famine is it's kind of a pain in the butt, but it's still doable. It's the 2 hour. The 2 hours really long. The past ones
a
were
long
90
race.
minutes or an hour. And also Descent. Where the heck is Descent? I mean, Descent's huge. There's no turbos. I mean, these are the races that everybody loves. Like Descent is like my favorite race, and where the heck are they? You know. And then something else to talk about is the rewards. I mean, Rumi's Concoction is an awesome reward. Let's just all agree on that one. Rumi's is great. The Bringer is pretty good. But then, like, Pyre, I don't want to... What is Pyre, 100 points? For a ring that's worth nothing and you see a million of, and who cares about alternate art rings? You can't even see what they look like. So, I think the rewards are a big downer. Usually you have, like, nearly twice as many of the rewards. And I do feel like this race season was kind of rushed. Even though we waited so long for it, I think that they were investing a lot of their time in Forsaken Masters, and they kind of put racing off to the side, and that there was so much demand for racing that it really wasn't tuned the way that we wanted it to be tuned. What do you think about that, Ghudda?
I don't know. I don't really like the really long races. Like anything over an hour is a massive investment. Like the 4-hour Piety kill, like I can kill Piety under 2 hours every time, but like it ends when it ends. That's the great part about that race. Like when you kill Piety, you're done, and then you don't care about the race anymore. Like you can go like suicide somewhere, and you're still done with the race. And that's like the best part about that race. Like
those new race types are good.
Yeah, I really like that kind of like timed race, but it's not like really timed. It's like get as high level as you can in 3 hours, like the old races where it's like, oh, if you don't start right at the beginning, you're fucked because you'll never be like the top 5 or whatever.
Right.
Yeah, like I don't like, and then like anything over an hour is just like a lot of time investment. That's like the part I really hate about races in general. It's just you start the race and it's like 2 hours. You can't be interrupted at all. Like, you know, I drink too much. I need to take a piss. Like I can't do that, man. I gotta finish the race first.
Yeah,
Like,
the 4 hour race, I agree with you. Just kill Piety. That's it. It's kind of like a more of a noob friendly. Anybody can really kill Piety in 4 hours and then you're done. Or
Sure
you can
about
join
that?
late.
Try to unlink the Ice Nova.
Please, every podcast gets brought up.
Takes about 3.5 hours, confirmed. I've done it before.
So I think there's this interesting kind of disparity at the moment between the competitive racing community and the more casual, just enjoying racing community, which is the majority, obviously. Like the majority of the people, those people that are just want to have in and have some fun races, and that's the reason why Ledge and Descent has been so popular, is because they are more like they're more RNG heavy, but they're more, you know, which is more exciting for the casual racing community. So this making of the Fixed Seed, the signature race. It seems like the idea behind the signature race is to be the competitive race. It's like the main one that the competitive races are competing in, and that's the excitement there. But I don't know. What do you guys think about the idea of it not being the competitive race? What if the signature race was more of a theming sort of fun race for the community to get behind, and then the competitive races are also there and made to be super competitive, like removing as much RNG from those as possible, just having the natural game RNG, not having, you know, so having them be Fixed Seed, and maybe removing things like lockboxes or having lockboxes be fixed as well. Stuff like that. I don't know, what do you guys reckon with having like a more fun style?
Last season it was Descent Champions, right, for this Fixed Seed?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I think there were some complaints about it, but everyone loves Descent. And it's just a great race. I'm surprised it went elsewhere. Maybe they have a new one in store, who knows. Every race season is going to be different, but I do think that an hour or 45 minutes, even 90 minutes, people could sit down. But 2 hours, now you're pushing it. People have lives. You know, not everyone can no life status it. It just happened.
Like, I really liked Descent Champions. That was my favorite race last season. It's like every Descent Champions I was there. Just like it's 40 minutes long. It was super short. Like okay, whatever. Like I can set aside 40 minutes anytime. Like I don't care. Like whatever trades can wait. And then, like, you know, you're done in 40 minutes, or maybe you die at, like, 20. Like, Ghudda just wrecks you, and you're like, oh, okay, well, I guess I just died here instead. That was, like, a really nice race, especially since you got so much currency, you could kind of, like, mitigate RNG a lot. It's like, oh, I just need to have like this one weapon that works. You have like 10 Chaos Orbs, or not like 10 Chaos Orbs, more like 4 Chaos Orbs, and then like some Alex, and like a Scour and a couple Alex, like just to deal with it. A couple of Regals as well, to like get some like decent gear, and then you could mirror your ring if you got a ring that was like worthwhile. You just get a double of it, and you go, bang. All right, I'm set. Like, I thought Distant Champions, you had to think fast. Like, you couldn't stop ever. If you ever stopped, you were like, it just killed your positions. Like, stop for 30 seconds to figure out what gear you needed. It just fucked you over. But
that's a 40-minute race for you.
Yeah, like you had to just do everything fast. Like, if you ever rolled gear, you did it while you were moving. Like, oh, I need to chaos something. Click the move and then chaos it, and then like, oh, is this good? I don't know. And then like you just figure it out while you're fighting more mobs. Like, I thought like the 40-minute Descent Champions was like really exciting.
More than anything, it's like a fun, different sort of Path of Exile to play. It's completely different to the core game, and then you get given that extra currency that you can have fun and spend that you just don't normally get. So that's pretty cool. I think probably what they're doing though is that they want a couple different races like that they can cycle in and out. So one season will have Descent Champions, and one season will have Epic Descent something triple X rated.
I think
New Descent League.
The big reason for the success of Descent Champions is it caters to both casual and hardcore gamers, where casual gamers could still get a decent amount of points and still have a fun time playing it because it's something new, and it's only 40 minutes. It's perfect. Whereas a hardcore gamer, it separates, the like Ghudda was saying, 30 seconds will kill you, and the min-max for a hardcore gamer is great in Descent Champions, so it's like a win-win scenario. And taking that away where so many people liked it was just a big downer for the community overall.
Yeah. Do you think I need to change the reward tiers with the shorter race seasons? As Ghudda said earlier, you have to like podium every race, all of the races to get even the 500 reward.
Yeah, if you want to get like top tier rewards, it's like a lot of work to do.
Yeah, whereas I think before, even as only like a mediocre racer, you could kind of work your way up there with a lot of time investment, or you could be a person who's very good at racing but only do half the races and still make your way up there, but not get the 1,000 reward. Like, 1,000 reward's always going to reserve for the person who does really well in almost every race. That's like the idea, that's fine. But yeah, that seems like there's a bit of a weird gap in the middle tier rewards this season.
Oh yeah. That pyre ring. That pyre ring. It looks cool though.
I mean, sure, it looks cool, but
hey, man,
I never complain about what the actual rewards are. I think it's just about like the fun of getting an alternate art unique thing that you're not going to get again.
Yeah,
or very unlikely to get again.
I'm still holding one of my alternate arts from like, I don't know, Invasion League or something. The little lights. Oh, I do, yeah. That's because I always forget about it. But I have the, of course, you would talk about Mention Arts. I have the lightsaber. The prismatic eclipse lightsaber. Yeah, it was cool. So I don't know. For me, I think just to finish it up, kind of, is the reason why I guess I like Descent Champions so much as well, and Endless Ledge and stuff like that, is because it doesn't feel like normal PoE. It's like a sub thing of PoE, where normally when you do a race, you have the same standard layout. You have, you go from point A to point B, you get Hillock, you go point B to point C, you get the waypoint, and then you get your skill point, skip, and then repeat. But like Descent and stuff, it's new. It's something still new to us. It's, we're not used to these mob types in these areas, these new bosses, you get gems at earlier level. Like, it's just all new. And I think new is really, it's just fun. So that's what I like about it the most. And I hope, as you said, Ziggy, maybe they're working on something new or they're tweaking it, and we hope to see them again next season or something new like that. Because that's really what brings out the racing for me. Someone who's been playing PoE for, quite a while, not really too involved in racing, but I still kind of want to take part in it, just, something new. That's pretty much it for me.
Let's be honest, though. The only reason why Ziggy likes the pyre is because he knows that his unique might be an alternate art someday, so he's trying to hype it up. Confirmed.
I didn't think about that. I'd like to see an alternate art for my unique. I just want my unique to get in the game, though. We got to get that happening.
We need some alternate art Ghudda gloves.
Cracking the whip on Rory.
Alternate art shackles.
The shackles. It's actually like shackles binding your hands together.
Fluffy pink handcuffs. Alternate art
Try to
version.
shoot a bow with that.
Confirmed that he has a whip on a dev.
It is confirmed.
I was kind of like the signature races, like there are no vendors. Like at some point, like you want to come across a vendor to just like make something, because there's vendor recipes for everything, like IPD, spell damage. Those are like the main two ones, and then there's like +1 to gems of some type. But there's no like vendors in all of Descent, so Like, I don't know, maybe at some point they could add like a vendors like at the end of like one zone, just to get like a spell damage item or something else. Like, I don't know, kind of like mitigate RNG in it.
So you can do those vendor recipes.
Yeah,
That'd be
it's
cool.
like a
I'd
vendor
like to see
recipe.
that in one of those race formats.
Get like a resist ring for
Not Endless
time.
Ledge, though. I like Endless
Yeah.
Ledge being how it is.
Like
no
an
vendors, nothing. Just whatever you get.
Oh,
I love
yeah.
that. I love being on small life
It
flask
is
at level
super
23.
RNG.
So good.
Good God.
Have you had one like that
Sledge.
before?
Yeah.
Small life flask all the way to 23.
I finally got, I skipped like 2 tiers and finally got a life flask like in the last 20 minutes, 10, 15 minutes.
Wow.
This one time, the best
Brutal.
life flask I had was actually I found Molten Strike and found Dual Claws. So I was a Dual Claw Molten Striker, and that was my life flask. I just attacked and got life back.
That's
Nice.
pretty good.
Funny. Yeah,
That's the
mine was-
RNG for you. Yeah, I found
Yeah.
clarity and could just like ditch my potions. That was pretty cool. It's cool when you actually find things in that race.
Oh
Yeah.
man! Yesterday I was doing Endless Ledge, and it was this Lightning Thorns, arc spamming ladies with shield chargers, and then the freaking spark skeletons with the guy who casts conductivity. It was a nightmare, and I of course RNG died. That's the thing with Endless Ledge though. You can get super lucky and dumpy zombies and skeletons all day, and then you could just get summoners, dischargers, all that craziness.
Yep. Xeno came into mind. I had Dischargers, Devourers, and Arctic Breath Leapers. And I walked across an area, and there must have been 4 packs of Devourers that spawned in a line. Like, it was literally like the whole screen. I just kept walking. It was like Devour, just the whole
And then
way
Leapers
through.
and
Yep, it was ridiculous. It was so scary. Oh God. Had my I have to use Xeno's quote. My Angus was peppered. Was
Yeah.
peppered very,
It's not my
very
quote.
well. I'm sorry. I'll use it as
that's
your quote.
copywritten.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to- I'll mute my microphone. No more copyright. Wow, it didn't mute, but I clicked it.
So the racing
Sorry.
season overall, how would you guys rate it? 1 to 10. Ziggy, go ahead.
I mean, I guess, how do I rate it? Because I really don't care about the rewards or the points and everything. I just care about the races. I find them enjoyable. So as for the races still being enjoyable, I mean, Endless Ledge is as fun as ever. It's probably even more fun now, like, because the game gets more fun. But, I mean, the lack of descent, I guess, is a bit of a downer. So I don't know. For me, it's like an 8, 7 or 8 out of 10. I rate it pretty well. I still have fun doing races. I'm going to enjoy the races. I know I'm going to enjoy those boss kill races. So I only care about the actual races, and the races to me are fun. So I'm not really that disappointed.
Xeno.
I don't race often, but compared to previous seasons, I mean, I'm no crazy hardcore racer, but compared to other seasons, I would rate this one probably like a 4 or a 3 out of 10. Or even a 69 out of 420, as Chad's saying. That would be a pretty good ratio right there. Ghudda?
Ghudda?
I'd say it's not as, like, I don't know, it's probably one of the better race seasons. The original race season in like closed beta, and then like the first like actual season, or whatever that was, Anarchy. Like those race seasons were just like endless multiple hour races. So better than that. So I don't know, 5, 6 out of 10.
Okay.
It's just like all the really crazy fun races that I really enjoyed are gone. But like whatever, I don't really care that much. Like I'll still do like the 1 hour parties, or just like the not really long races. Like anything that's over a couple hours is just like not worth my time.
That's a good point. I'm not really interested in the 2-hour famine fixed seed. I'd probably do like a shorter fixed seed, and it would be really fun to like learn like a half-hour, 40-minute fixed seed, and because I love the process of like improving as a player and trying to. I mean, that kind of extends all the way back to when I first started playing StarCraft. Is like, you know, getting that repetition, getting your build orders down, and racing is a lot like a build order in StarCraft. And a 40-minute fixed seed would be great for that feeling, but 2 hours is a bit too much for me to invest.
Like I wouldn't mind like the really long races, like the 2, 3, 4 hour races. Like those would be fine as long as I could like migrate that character to the league I wanted instead of just it's being sent to either hardcore or standard. Like that was the part I really hated. Like okay, if I had like a 4 hour, 6 hour, 8 hour race, like I would do that if I knew that character would just end up in like Rampage or Beyond. Like it would just end up there. Like I already had that time invested in the character, and I was just like there in that league. But there's nothing of like that sort. It's just, it just goes to hardcore or standard. That's where it goes. Like all the time invested is not put into the new leagues, which is where I actually play.
The only thing that ever carries over is the hybrid leagues or the hardcore, the 1 weeks. where you find an Eternal like this is going in my stash, and then it's going to with Nemesis
Yeah.
or Invasion at the time. Oh, that feel when you find an Exalt in those leagues, you're like, and that's going to the Parent League.
I would have to say that overall, I'm gonna have to be a little negative here, but I'm gonna have to rate it a 0 because I have not seen any drop bears in the endless ledge races yet,
Oh,
and you know that's supposed to be
point.
variety. And you know when I was running those endless ledge, I was expecting little drop bears to come out from the tropical ion ledges and pop down, but I didn't see any of that. I was a little upset. But no, on a real standpoint, I'd probably give it about a 6 or so. Just because, as Ziggy said, I'm not really doing it for the rewards. I do it for the thrill and the fun and the experience. And I'm really waiting for the new I really want to see what they're doing now. If they're really they're holding Descent or Descent Champions, if they're going to change it or exactly what they're doing. So that's pretty much me.
Alrighty.
Stupid drop bears. You know what? Like you're supporting the heck out of is it Sharon or Charon? How do you say his name, Ziggy?
Sharon Jinmar.
Yeah, I don't even have a drop bear pet, but I support him 100%.
Man,
Ziggy's
like
got
that
it.
guy is getting all the hype every
I
episode.
will support him 100. I will take a. I will
The
take.
drop bear's pet's so legit. I have so many times of the other guys have been attacking my drop bear pet. It's perfect. It's so good. And apparently, even if the first time you summon it in a game with a party, it
Lags.
lags them out for half a
Yep.
second, so you can try and PK with them. Drop bear as it drops.
Yep.
They drop and they die.
Drop lag.
Drop lag. It's a drop,
drop
hack.
lag bear. Oh man.
Oh, good old school drop hacks here. Going back to Call of Duty days. Oh yeah.
So other than Ziggy, for once, everyone else is like kind of mediocre about the racing, and
Races are as fun as ever. There's just not as many of them. And that's all.
let's go on to the next segment. So Ghudda, what the?
Hold on.
hell?
I'm very excited for the Ghudda segment, but we didn't mention any of the quality of life improvements, and I would like to bring these up because
Those are important.
Ghudda
these
just got canned.
and I think some of these, like, I forgot about one of these. I hadn't even used it. I'm like, holy shit, I haven't been using that. Awesome. So you guys need to know these quality of life improvements so that you can thoroughly enjoy them. Because if you're just in the habit of doing another thing, like living with the shittiness, then you won't use the quality of life stuff. So, firstly, we can now shift-click strong boxes. Ever since strong boxes have been implemented, this has been one of the most requested features of the game, simply because you either accidentally click long boxes and get yourself killed, or you needed to alt spam something and it takes forever to shift and drag it from your inventory each time. So now you can take an alteration stack, you can alt spam it with holding shift, all you like. Oh, such a good change. This is like, overall this patch has been like, they're like, let's just nail that down, like half of that quality of life list that people post to Reddit every couple days. So
Also-
shift click log box hype.
To chime in, Ziggy, you can click them from farther away now too. So I remember when I'm like really going through maps, I'm in combat and I'm clicking the box at the same time. But you had to be like not really close, but maybe like I don't even know how to describe it actually in Path of Exile terms. But now you can click it from like literally like the entire screen, which makes it really nice for when people are coming close and they would misclick it and go and hit it. So now it's like you have that whole. Then again, if you play Ghudda's movement speed build. You'll be a lot better there. You can't accidentally click the box because it takes you quite a long time to go from point A to point B.
Or you accidentally click the box and just teleport there, and then like, oh shit,
I mean,
can't run around anymore. That's the other issue.
It's kind of crazy how like you've been so accustomed to these lock boxes now for 4 months. Actually, it's probably about 6 months now. That you're so used to doing one at a time. That's hard to break that old habit because you were actually worsening your gameplay by, this is a lockbox. I know I can't shift click it. I have to do it like this. Otherwise, I'll accidentally click it. It's hard to get out of that mentality. Same way it is like when you're farming docks and you find the waypoint, and now you can control click it and just make a new one. We're not used to that mentality. It's going to be hard to break these habits, but I'm slowly starting to get into that, and I think these are both great quality of life improvements.
So that segues nicely into the other one. You can now control click waypoints to create a new instance from within the instance, which is, that's
new.
So good. That's so good. That's the one I forgot about. I hadn't been using it all because I
I
totally
used
forgot
it
about it.
one time, but it saves you so much time because normally, for people who don't know, it's
Two load screens. Yeah.
you go from like docks to City of Sarn, and then control click docks to go back. And for people with not very fast computers, that could be like 30 seconds of time you're wasting, like going from point A to point B back to point A.
Yeah.
Now it's just you go to the waypoint,
Try a
control
couple
click
minutes.
yourself.
When I was
Minutes,
playing
really?
on a Mac with the wineskin wrapper, load screens are like 2.5 minutes or something.
Wow,
So
I'm on an SSD, so I'm spoiled. It's like half a second sometimes. My goodness.
So that's a pretty nice one, and it's got to be nice for the GGG servers. Like, took them a bit of effort to code that, to fix that, but I guess the less server strain now is people are creating less instances and less constantly like loading into instances and stuff. I imagine it's got to be an improvement for them as well. So the next one is you can now control click into map device and crafting benches. I gotta just say, for like a uniformity standpoint, this is awesome. Like, everything should function the same. Like, in terms of usability, if you have a hotkey that does one thing in one menu, it should do the same thing in the other menu. So now you can control click in between each of the different things. So that's great. At the same time, in a previous patch, they also had the quantity auto selected on the Zana map mod now, on the Zana map device. So now you can control click and it's auto selected and you click go. It's like such a little thing, but because you're doing multiple maps per day, and it was always a frustration. So it's another nice change there. Yeah, need to be efficient with those clicks. These all sound like such minor things, but if you play a lot of Path of Exile, just like these are the things, just like, oh, the game is so much more enjoyable now. Just like these little minor things. Next one, permanent loot allocation settings. This is one that has been a major frustration because it's always set to short allocation, and about 90% of the population plays on permanent allocation always. So now you can go into your options menu and set the preferred loot allocation to be permanent. So whenever you create a party, it'll be automatically set to permanent. I think it's been a little bit buggy, but once it gets working properly, it'll always be set to the one you want. So that's pretty nice as well. So make sure to go set that if you like playing on permanent. I like playing on short, but I might as well set up permanent anyway and just manually switch to short.
A quality of life I'm hoping to see soon is shift clicking into a guild, but it makes sense why you can't shift click, because someone else is in there. If someone else is in your guild bank and they're trying to take something out. And
you mean control clicking stuff across?
Yeah, control clicking. My fault. That's the one thing it takes me forever to get used to. I'm like, why won't this come out of my guild bank?
I believe there was a reason for that, that they said.
I think it's because if someone else is in there or something along those of the sort.
Oh, you got to prevent those people who are in your guild that just take everything out of all the FFA tabs, and then you're like, oh wait, all the FFA tabs are empty.
Yeah, I cannot wait.
Who did this?
I cannot wait for the day.
Guild log.
Oh, I'm sorry, Ghudda. Yeah, the guild log. That's it. The day we have last online, the day we could say who took what, that would be the biggest quality of life change ever. Like, this guy hasn't been on in 6 months. Boo. Or this guy's been stealing everything out of the guild bank. Boo.
The guild features overall are pretty limited at this point, and they've talked about in the past about a lot of extra things that guilds would be able to do, including guild-only leagues, like guild-only paid leagues they talked about a long time ago, guild PvP events, guild race events. So it'll be interesting to see if any of that stuff they talked about in the past ever sort of makes it into the game. So I'm especially hyped for paid events, like paid races and stuff, where you can create a custom rule set, pay a microtransaction, 500 points or whatever, and have a custom rule set for you and your guildies or you and your friends to play. 200 open slots, invite people in with custom rule set, because that'll be like, man, that'll be just great for the community. There's so many cool things I could do out of that. Like, from a content creation perspective, like, I have so many cool videos and live stream events we could do with something like that. So I wonder if that's something they're still working on in the background, or if it's just been shelved for a while.
That would be... I didn't even know about that. That's really interesting, because that would go... Remember, Ziggy, we discussed this off stream. Maybe it was on the stream, how we were talking about getting groups of self-found people going. That would kind of be the same thing, because it's trading within your own community.
Yeah, you could make your own private league, like private timed self-found league, and have custom rule sets that support that. I would love to see some of that, because they talked about that probably like a year ago or something. It was quite a while ago they talked about that, and I haven't really heard anything about it since. So I hope it is something that's still on their minds, and if not, hopefully if they're watching this podcast, keep that on your minds. That's like, I think all of the live streamers, all of the YouTubers, and a lot of the community members will really love something like this. So if that, I don't know what it takes to get something like that implemented, or what are the problems with it, but that's something I would be putting on a rush on if I was at the GGG offices, that's for sure.
There's so much quality of life that they need to do. I don't know. If you guys don't know, Chris Wilson's coming on for episode 20. He just confirmed it. There's a little bit of hype for you. Woo! I actually want to bring up some quality of life discussions to him, such as, like Game Engine. You even bring up desync. It's been a while since desync's been brought up to the guy. And I would like to see what other quality of life things they have in store for us, so that way we know what to be expected. After playing on a fairly, it's a decent computer. It was 5 years old. It runs every other game smooth, but like Path of Exile, since Forsaken Masters, I couldn't even barely load a freaking screen within 30 seconds. I would love to hear what Grinding Gear Games' stance is on the quality of life with their game engine, because let's be honest, they know, we know, everybody knows it's not the best it could be, or even like half as good as it could be. But I don't know.
Yeah, I've been mostly fine with a lot of that stuff being left for a long time now, but it's getting closer and closer to that time where I do think, it's getting closer, guys. There's kind of this like arbitrary imaginary deadline where some major improvements need to be made. Like every couple of years, most games are going to have like a bit of an overhaul of their architecture and their internal systems, and it's getting, I feel like we're reaching some sort of imaginary deadline where for a lot of people it's just going to be like, all right, that's probably far enough. It's been too long without any major improvements. So I do feel like it's kind of this feeling that I have, and I think a lot of people have, that we're getting a bit closer to the need for some big improvements in that area. But the minor quality of life improvements with this patch is a good thing. That's a good thing. I hope that each new patch has a number of these things. If they just put in like 2 or 3 quality of life improvements in each patch, the game's going to get a lot better over time, so I hope it's something that continues. Another one that we didn't mention was jump to stash tab functionality. If you have a stash tab named with an A, B, C, or whatever now, like starting with that, you can press the letter on your keyboard and you'll jump to it automatically.
Oh, I didn't even know
So
that.
that's like so good for trading. So you can be like, all right, my awesome items are on K. I can just press K and go straight to it. Even if it's like 2 tabs over, it should work. So I haven't tested it, but it should work well, even if you just got them numbered. So if you don't have the custom tabs, you can still press 1, 2, 3, 4, etc. So really nice change.
What was I going to say about the game engine? No, I forgot.
Rip.
It's not Unreal. That's the problem. Donate $3 million to GGG to port to Unreal. That's what you should do.
It's a new first-person shooter, Path of Exile to Modern Warfare.
Path of Warfare 2, Modern Exile.
So, I would like to, before I leave and don't listen to your answer, provoke from you guys a bit of a discussion about rebalance. Let me read from the patch notes here. Zana map mods have had their prices adjusted. Ambush, Nemesis, and Domination have had their prices reduced. Anarchy Invasion have their prices reduced now and grant 16% increased item quantity. And Onslaught has had its price increased. I would like for you guys to discuss your thoughts on those changes, and especially in regards to economic impacts, especially with like the recent Elrion changes and any chaos becoming like worth less and less. Do you think these changes will impact that significantly? Maybe I'll throw over to Ghudda first, and then I'm gonna run away.
Maybe not. I don't know. It just costs a lot of chaos to like roll high-end maps. Like the only time you actually use chaos on maps is like when you get like your highest map. Like if 74 or 72 is your highest map, and like you might chaos it or even alch it. Like that's what you might do. And even that's like kind of a maybe. It's what I really preferred. What would have happened back in the day, actually, because back in the day, like in closed beta, it's like, oh, if you didn't alch your 69 maps, you would run out of 69 maps if you weren't lucky.
Mm-hmm.
Like it was such bullshit. Like oh god, I'm running 66 maps to get 68s if I get them. And the 68 maps, I will actually charge alteration orbs for. It was such bullshit. I was like, what the fuck is this? Like I'm charging for a 68 map. Like you can get these at a 66. All you need to do is run maps to get these maps. And you can charge for them, and you could, and people would gladly pay for it. Yeah, it was absolutely horrible back in the day. And like this is what I really would prefer. Like, you chisel, maybe alch your highest map to get upgrades, and like when you finally get like the highest map, you're always like chaosing to get the good rolls that don't kill you. And before, you would get like the good rolls that would also kill you. But maybe you could actually clear to keep doing maps. Like when you got like 75 plus, like, oh, this one's double blast, vulnerability, extra damage, minus max. You're like, well, shit, that's a lot of quantity. And it's also mazed. Like, I can't roll over this. And then you run it anyways and die, and you're like, well, shit. Like, that's how it was back in the day.
Yep.
I think the only time I've ever used the Zana mods is if it has a ridiculous quantity and it's already hard enough. You're like, well, screw it. Let's put something else on there because chances are, why not? Unless if it's like really, really rolled well and it's like all the mods are easy for you and then you're like, screw it, we can put one damage mod on there and go at it. But they are a little pricey. I think the increase in Onslaught was probably warranted because it gave a lot of quantity for how easy it was. But the other ones, reducing them was pretty good. The 2 Exalt one was outrageous. Absolutely outrageous. No one's gonna... Did anybody actually here pay 2 Exalts to, what was it, the Nemesis mod, was it?
I know a few people did to try and get some of the uniques, but I haven't seen too much of it.
Mathful once. I know we posted a bit about that.
You did it, Ghudda?
No, Mathful did.
Oh, Mathful did?
Yeah.
Did he get any luck? Probably not.
No.
Yeah.
The only thing I've ever done, I believe, is put on Anarchy to really high, like really nice maps that'll have like 100% plus quantity, because I think Anarchy has Exiles, right?
Yep.
So it's
And
pretty...
Shrines.
Yep.
No, wait, no. Shrines are Domination.
Yeah, Shrines are
Domination.
My bad.
I think the
Ambush-
Nemesis one is insane, an extra rare in every pack. And, extra chance in treasure and stuff. I think that's a great one to put on.
Well, Headhunter.
But,
Headhunter alone.
if you're running Headhunter.
Like, I put Ambush onto a couple of maps because they were like Vol Orb to crazy quantities, like 140% extra quantity. And it's like, oh, Ambush adds 4 extra boxes, and it costs 1 Exalt, 1 Vol Orb, but now it costs 12 Chaos, I think, and 12 Vol Orbs. 12 Vol Orbs.
That's
I'm
if
like,
it's corrupted.
Yeah, if it's corrupted, but like you can't really get crazy 100+ quantity maps.
Unless it's corrupted.
Unless it's corrupted.
I think you can get 120 or 130 without corruption, actually. It's just...
You can get like 150 quantity, but it takes a hell of a roll to get that. Like,
Get
how
some blood
rare
magic,
no
regen,
regen, blood
max.
magic, minus 25 max, like... My god, I've run a couple of them before. It's like, takes you an hour to clear the map. You're scared of a white mob because he hits you, freezes you, blood magic, you're cursed with every curse, and you're just like, wow.
Yeah. Well, I get those crazy quantity levels, like, 1 Exalt, 1 Vol Orb, but now it's like 12 Chaos, 12 Vol Orbs, and like Vol Orbs are so rare.
Yeah.
Like Vol Orbs are so precious because you can Vol Orb gear with them to make them like useful, maybe, if they're totally trash.
Yep.
I never have any Volobs. I always chew through them. I lock boxes and gear.
Like everyone who's like, I don't think there's any high tier player that actually like sells Vol Orbs. Like, why would you ever sell a Vol Orb? They're too precious for that.
Well, we had GCP, man.
Yeah, there's GCP man, but like Vol Orbs are so precious. The Vol Orbs are so good. You can get Divine Orbs out of boxes if you roll with like a really big party, because like the boxes start dropping so much loot and you have a huge party. It's like, why wouldn't you Vol Orb a box? Like, why wouldn't you? Like, the odds for a Divine Orb are just like way too high.
They're
And even
insane
then-
in self-found. Like, Vol-orbing lockboxes.
Yep.
What you get back from them is insane.
Yeah, but like it's even better in groups because you get 6-player quantity with the box. So even if it's your Vol Orb lost, the party benefits way more for it. Like an Olmec, like we've run Olmecs all the time, and like Olmecs has 120 and I think 220 quantity on it. Like, it's an insane map, and it seems to always spawn boxes. You Vol Orb every single one, and there's like a guaranteed Divine per Olmecs you run with like 5-6 player loot. It's pretty insane.
So, the Zana thing, you think it's good overall? Yeah? Other than the Vol Orb change, Mr. Ghudda?
Maybe? I don't know. I would prefer like they would reduce the Vol Orb usage down, because there's no real way to generate Vol Orbs. Before, there was the recipe where you could kind of like use a Vol Gem, and then, or 7 Vol Gems and then a Vol Fragment to get Vol Orb, and that's like still a recipe that's available. But every Vol fragment is now worth like more than a Vol Orb itself. Like, it's 1 or 2 chaos depending where you are, because the odds of it dropping a Vol Gem out of that fragment are so low. Like, if you run a fragment, you just keep running fragments until you get the whole set. Like, 4 or 5 Vol fragments are basically an Aziri set. So you can't really get Vol Orbs out of that reliably. It's better just to run the Vol fragments until you get just a whole set, and then just sell the set and get Vol Orbs off that. So Like, I don't know. I think Vol orbs should be more common than they are. Or maybe like Azeri sets should like spawn more Vol gems instead, because there's like no way to generate Vol orbs.
Well, other than like you said, selling 7 Val gems, but before that was no problem because the corruption was everywhere.
Yeah.
But now it's like, whoa. I
Yeah,
mean,
like 7 Vol gems. Like, it's so insane to acquire.
I had a bunch of freaking Val Storm calls at one point in time, and now it's like I would do anything. Want to buy Val Storm call is actually like something you see now. Before it's like I have like 40 in my tabs.
There you go. Let me just give it to you. Because you get corrupted zones like 1 every 5 zones or something. If not, maybe even more frequent. And then on top of that, the chances of you getting a gem was like 85% from what I remember.
It was ridiculous. Now they're just so rare. It's like getting Val gems on gem cutters was like, screw that. Now you're like, maybe. Who knows?
Nope.
Speaking
I was like,
of... okay,
Like, I need a Vol gem. Like, why don't I just Vol the gem instead of trying to run zones for it?
Yep.
Like, that's basically what it's kind of like. I need a Vol haste. File haste gems instead of trying to run corrupted zones.
So, Ziggy, I just want to bring this up a little off topic. You know, YOLO cutter boxes. There was a white box, gem cutters, YOLO cutters. Clicked it, 15% explosive arrow. I'm just saying,
You're
it's
that guy who
confirmed to
flips
work.
over a rock and gets an exalt, and it's like, guys, everyone, you should flip over rocks. You get exalts if you flip over rocks.
You do.
Beginner's luck.
What the? YOLO cutters is confirmed. It works.
Beginner's luck.
YOLO cutters, do it.
Guys, always crafty gem cutters. Don't YOLO the gem
YOLO.
cutters. White, especially. Oh my god.
It's confirmed to work. YOLO cutters.
That's something I'll never agree with you till the day I die, Zeno.
You better start dying.
You'll never win me over with this. Wow. Oh man, I'm still alive. None of my characters have died in Beyond yet.
Oh man. So let's go into the hot topic here. The reason why this episode even exists. We got patch notes, quality of life, but screw it. We got Ghudda. That's far more important to me, right? Right?
Oh yeah.
The man with the plan, the man of true entertainment. What do you got for us today, Ghudda?
Yes.
Yes!
You could either
The
discuss your points on fishing, or you could talk about some clunky builds you've done in the past, or even what you got planned for us.
I don't know, like one of the, like, I don't know, I really like a really high build diversity in this game. Like, one of the problems I really hate with this game is like whenever it starts playing the same build, because it's just the best build. Like, you know, you could do something similar, but it's going to be slightly more expensive, slightly hard to gear, slightly hard to do anything. And like Buzzsaw was the build back like a league ago, or like 2 leagues ago. We just got all the resistances you need from auras because aura nodes are really strong. So you basically leveled up, and then like you were capped on resistances, and then like you just had gear and you just did damage like for free. You didn't need anything. And like one of the things I really like is like some of the not used things. Like say like knockback or like rare chests. Like why would you use a rare chest now? There's almost no reason to. It's like, I don't know. Some of these things just aren't they're kind of like underused. Just like properties like knockback, stun, even freeze nowadays. Like freeze is completely overpowered. It's broken as fuck, but nobody uses it. So
You watch your tone. I just made a cold snapper.
yeah, but like freeze is completely broken. Like you
It is.
link like chance to freeze and then cold damage to anything, and you just freeze the whole screen. It doesn't matter how much damage you do, just as long as you can keep recycling the freeze duration, it's fine. So there's some of those things where it's like, I don't know why they're not used more. Stun is insane. Like some people complain like, oh, if you go into like the enemies can't be stun map, you desync less. But like if you go into those like can't be stun maps, they're actually really dangerous because you don't stun the enemies. Stun is a really, really strong mechanic in PoE because you don't realize how strong it is until you go into like one of those maps like with EK. Like EK, you just like shoot out EK and it just like stuns everything in front of you. You're like, oh, EK, all the white monsters kind of sit there like, and then they just like fall over and die. But then like you go into like a stunning map and you're like, EK, and you're like, and nothing, and then just like beat you over the face with their giant
Yeah,
claws.
you don't notice stun and how much impact it has until it's gone. But yeah, especially with EK, it's like, and just a lot of really heavy hitting things. It's a big defensive mechanic. It makes a huge difference.
Yeah.
So I think you're like the poster boy for standard, Ghudda. I think you're what the league is all about. It's about trying to break the game, trying to use those underused things, trying to make those crazy, insane builds with those crazy skills no one uses. So I do have a question though. Maybe this will provoke something interesting. How do you fund all of this insanity? Because let's just take a look at one of your recent endeavors, shall we? The move speed build. The positive move speed. We'll go with that one. So where you had to get all of these really specific corruptions on gems and items and the highest possible evasion possible. How do you fund this? What's your method, man?
I stopped drinking for 2 weeks and ran Sarn for 2 weeks. That's what happened. That's literally what happened. I ran Sarn endlessly for 2 weeks.
Lock boxes in particular?
Yeah, like Arcanist boxes, just like pop and bam, like get a couple chaos that way. Always doing the chaos speed. Like it was just like endlessly playing the game.
Oh my god.
Like it was so much playing, just like da 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 da. Like
Wow.
I don't know, I stopped drinking and then went insane and just like ran Sarn for weeks on end. And then
So
I got rich.
I was expecting, it's like, I flip high level items or something like that, but it's like you actually just grind for the currency.
All right,
Wow.
so Ghudda made a Lightning War build with, I mean, like, the most invested character I've seen for complete arbitrary craziness. Can you please do this world a favor and explain your Lightning War build, and then explain the biggest downside, step one that you should have done immediately?
Okay, so the Lightning Warp build. I was thinking like, okay, what if you did like Mjolnir Lightning Warp, but like cast on crit Lightning Warp? I go, okay, I tested out cast on crit Lightning Warp, like a level 20 gem with like 20/20 reduced duration. Those aren't hard to get. Like, you can acquire those with enough time. The problem is getting a 21/20 Lightning Warp because that is basically just RNG at that point, or a level 21 Lightning Warp to begin with. Eventually, I just bought one for like 20 chaos or 30 chaos, whatever the guy was selling for. It didn't have quality, but it didn't matter because it was linked to a Mjolnir. And level 4 in power, which is about for 80 exalts, which was a lot, by the way.
80 exalts for a Lightning War build.
Yeah. So, but now I have a level 4 in power to do other things with, so it's not like a total loss. I can still use it. I can still sell it back for like way more. Well, not more than I paid for it, obviously, but like still like a decent amount. But I did all that, and at about like 94%, I was like, this doesn't seem to be working as well as I think it would, because I would link like Stormcall or whatever to like Spectral Throw and cast on crit, and it would cast like tons of Stormcalls, but then Lightning Warp would be like, but you.
Yeah, it wasn't like going instantly everywhere.
It was like, like how you would expect it to be. And eventually I was like, okay. Maybe if I get to 100% reduced duration, it's instant, which it is at that point. But after I got to the point, I was like, this still doesn't work. Why doesn't it work? And I had to go through like log files after log files and patch notes and after patch notes. And then I finally found like, there's a delay on Lightning Warp. It's 0.1 seconds. Congratulations.
No.
I'm an idiot.
Spent all that
Oh, that
currency.
build. I was like, oh, Mjolnir Lightning Warp. Someone got 100% reduced duration. This should be amazing. Watch the YouTube video, and I'm like, what's going on here? I was expecting the chaos, and when you showed that patch note, I was just like the most depressed person that day. I felt for you, Ghudda.
Yeah, I was like, and oh.
That was some serious science there. A
Would
lot
have
of
been
currency
amazing.
spent to discover that.
Oh,
Yes.
dude.
So sad.
One of your sadder, more expensive discoveries.
Yeah. It's like, oh, why didn't I read the patch notes sooner? All of them throughout the entire dawn of time. It's just you can only prepare for so much, and then like, oh, this random thing doesn't work this way because it doesn't work at all.
That's
Because
true.
it was patched. Because like if you ever used Lightning Warp before, one of the problems was if you like cast Lightning Warp and then cast Lightning Warp again, the second cast wouldn't actually cast because you were already casting it because you were desynced at the time you cast it. So the second Lightning Warp would always fail if you just like held down the button, and like the delay fixed that mostly. It still happens.
It was basically a fix for
Yeah,
normal builds.
It's basically just like a fix for desync, but then like, oh, we're just gonna like remove from the game, like whatever, like fine.
Took the fun
fine.
away from it.
Yeah, but if they ever remove that or fix desync in like a major way, then whatever. I'll be Night Stalker, just like fucking slamming people away with a Mjolnir, and that'll be freaking awesome. And I'll just go blind from just like faster than Flicker Strike. That's the idea, but it never happened.
Bum, bow. So, on the topic of learning things, what's one of the more interesting things you've learned from all of your experimentation in PoE, Ghudda? What do you think would be one of the things that not many people know that's a little bit crazy? It's one of those questions where it's like,
Try to do more damage. Don't try to do more things. That's probably like the biggest issue.
That's the
Like-
problem I'm at right now.
Yeah,
I
like
really-
everything in the game, you can always like do more stuff with it, but it doesn't actually do anything. Like stun and freeze don't kill mobs. That's like one of the most irritating issues of the game. Like it's like, oh, you can stun mobs to oblivion, you can like just freeze them forever, but that doesn't actually kill them. It doesn't actually like progress the game at all, and that's kind of depressing because like, oh, I'm a freeze build, but I don't actually kill things.
yeah, a lot of the time nowadays especially, it's just easier to kill things
Yeah.
before they're a problem rather than to try and crowd control them.
I think
Yeah,
I remember a couple seasons ago, it was like in hardcore, it was like essential for a party to have a good set of crowd control, and like people were running Enfeeble and Temp Chains Dual Curse all the time. But nowadays, even in Beyond League, which is one of the roopier leagues at the start, it's just become more and more about DPS. It's an interesting
Yeah.
sort of overall shift.
Pox won't make a build unless he can carry or it has clear speed, or both, right? Pox, it's all about clear speed.
I mean, every league I like trying to do something different, and that's what it's come to now, yeah? For me, at least. I mean, for me, everyone's different, so...
I have to say, through all of your complexity that you've put into builds, Ghudda, the lesson you've learned from it is the beauty of simplicity. That in itself that's a pretty cool
Yeah.
statement, man. I like that.
Right now, I'm
Yeah.
trying to be an edge master, and I'm doing a Rain of Arrows ranger, and I'm trying to use Mind Over Matter with all the Mana Flask nodes and the Life Flask nodes, trying to use Hybrid Flask to sustain my Mind Over Matter with like Battle Ruse and Mana Gain Unkill, things like that. But like Ghudda said, just do damage. Don't try to be a hipster. But there's just so many builds out there. It's like
Yeah.
that's how I feel. I just want to do something different.
Yeah, it's like the big problem. It's like, well, you could make like, a crit sword build, or you could just make daggers and just be better at it.
Oh, I want to try Viper Strike. Go Reeve.
it's, like, it's like, why would you bother with this? It's better as something else.
Why wait for dots to kill things when you can just kill them?
Yeah, like dots work really well against bosses you can't kill instantly, which basically means that they only work against Aziri. So, it's like Aziri and Vol are the only bosses that survive long enough to bother with the dots, or like really hard hitting dots. And like, why would you bother with it otherwise? Like I really wanted to make like a dot build, but why? You have to hit mobs with it. You have to get close. You have to like, hit them with traps or whatever. But like against the regular game, it doesn't make any sense to bother with. Ellie Prolific Knight is the strongest dot because like you don't need to do that much damage, and it just kills every white and magic mob, and like the rare might be left, and you're like, oh, okay, I just have one rare to deal with, and then you just slaughter him as like singly.
Another
But,
thing
like-
with Ellie Prolif too, like a discharge build, like Pox was saying, you just blow up a bunch of mobs and you're a lockbox. You have the Prolif on the ground, click the box. Now they're all prolifited and Prolif.
And I love my discharge build. I need to make it again. It had like almost 100% increased duration of Ignite. It was ridiculous. It was so cool.
Yeah.
I think overall the game's in a pretty good spot, but I would like to see in the future something really difficult where we do feel like we need to go back to trying to stun and freeze and enfeeble and all that jazz in hardcore. I would like to see something like that happen.
I feel like clear speed is a little bit high right now, because if you have like really high clear speed, it means the other aspects of the game aren't important, like stun and freeze and enfeeble and cursing and all those other things that are like part of the game.
We know why though. Like Carl and Rory said on the previous Dev podcast that the game is more fun and exciting the faster it is. So with as slow as it has been in the past, they didn't actually like how slow it was back then. They wanted it to be a faster paced game.
Yeah,
so maybe kind of know why.
It is an RPG.
Like change curse speed to be like, I don't know, like 0.2 seconds, but like curses cast like nearly instantly, like snap curses, like bam, they just like annihilate your mana supply, but everything's cursed. Like maybe something like that could be like a decent change.
Alrighty, so Ghudda, you have a very important topic to bring up in regards to wildlife conservation in Raycast. Would you care to enlighten us on this a little bit? I'm very interested in this. I know it's a very hot topic, especially with the recent appearance of Krillson.
Yeah, Krillson actually is a master troll, actually, annihilating the fish supply of the land. So Roas and crabs actually feast on fish. They're carnivores. Roas don't, actually kill fish, but crabs feast off fish decaying corpses. But there's not any of them because like Krillson is just training exiles, just catch fish and annihilate the fish population. So all the crabs are actually migrating to land, and then they're attacking exiles, which is providing us with more experience, which may be a good or bad thing. But you have to kill them twice, which is kind of annoying. So tell me, I don't know, is it good or bad? Fishing in Path of Exile? Annihilating the local wildlife population?
Personally, from a mechanic standpoint, I think it needs to be nerfed. It's the only weapon that can have 4 sockets. I think that's just really weird, and there's so many new metas that can be involved around with it. And finding Krillson, and you could tell everyone in the world you found him, but really no one could see him but you. I mean, I think it really hurts the mentality of the player, and it needs to be nerfed.
Yeah, it's a ghost. Like, people in a party find him, and like you can't actually see him. You can see the fishing hole, but you can't actually see him. What am I supposed to believe here? I have row of feathers. I have Beargrave's tricorn on. I've got the fishing rod, and I still can't see him. Like, what do I do at that point?
It's like PoE fishing in a nutshell, isn't it? It's like, yeah, I can see it fine, but no one else can see it.
Yeah. Like, I can fish. Like, what are you talking about?
Yes.
This is fate, actually. I can turn my dog into a giant jellyfish and that does extra lightning damage. It's great.
Fishing. What other troll things are we going to see? Like, the Krillson thing, when people were like, there's an 8th master, I was like, there's no freaking way. And then it's on Reddit, and it's got like 1 million upvotes, and there he is, the homeless man with the fishing rod. Chris Wilson, Krillson, I mean, come on. Yep. When he comes on the podcast,
it's got the Chris Wilson voiceover as well.
Yeah.
Yep. I'd like to welcome Krillson to the State of Exile.
Who does he say? It's like, hello, I'm Krillson from something. It's like grinding
game. I'm Krillson from Winding Peer fame.
I mean, come on.
It's so good. I don't know what to think anymore.
I love the subtle Easter eggs.
I swear there's some way to get fishing rods and to get row of feathers. I'm just not sure how. I think you have to have Farragut's tricorn equipped. I'm not sure why, though.
Of course.
I think the next edition is definitely going to be mounts. Get Mount Aroa. It's going to be a prefix on it.
No.
Yes.
No.
Or maybe it's a Nemesis mod. Drops when dead. So you can actually have your Roa and you can just jump on it and go. It's going to happen.
Please.
What?
It's not happening.
It's clear speed, man.
There's an Easter egg I discovered recently with Animate Guardian. I brought this one up. When he has a 2-handed mace, I know for sure 2-handed mace, and right before he swings it, he goes up to the monster and he's like, thumbs down. He's like, and he whacks him. He just gives him the thumbs down like a taunt. It's the most beautiful thing ever. And I found it, like, I was just leveling up. It's like, let's see how low-level Summoner is. So I was like, Animate Guardian, let's deck him out. And I put on, like, a Rimnor's on him. Decked him out completely. And he walked up to Mervile the first time I saw it, and he went up to him, and he was like, wham! And it was just, like, the best thing in the world.
He actually does it. True story, if you use multi-strike, it's multiple thumbs downs.
He's like, it's the best thing. It's so funny. I love the Easter eggs they put into this game.
I've never seen that. There you go.
Little things like that.
So yes, guys, the moral of this story is do consider the environment of Rayclast when you're engaging in fishing, and when you're using that OP Song of Sirens fishing unique. Just think maybe that the quantity of fish that you're catching might be having some adverse effects on the environment.
Yeah.
I think that's what we should take away from this. So on that note, shall we move into the Q&A segment of today's podcast? And if you guys in chat would like to post a question, please type Q&A and then at who you would like to address it to, and then type your question, and we will copy-paste it into a document to ask. But the first question comes in from Riku Clayton, and it is, Q&A at Ghudda. How is your bow stun build coming along? I want to make one as well, but I have no idea if I should be crit or non-crit, maybe semi.
I have no idea.
You have no idea?
Best response.
Getting some crit seems like a good idea, because like some of the nodes are right next to other nodes. Like, let me bring up the tree here. Bink.
Bink.
Yeah, like there's King of the Hill and
Lethality.
what is that node? Heavy Draw and Deadly Draw and Lethality. They're all like on a kind of really closed line to get over to like the dual totem node. So you might want to go crit with it. It's like all on the same track where you want to where you would want to go. Getting like Stun Mastery though is like in the middle of nowhere. That's the node I'm not really sure about. But yeah, like dual totem bow stun might be a thing. It's still probably gonna have like terrible clear speed and have
It's
like terrible,
yeah, the worst thing I can imagine.
like
The
terrible
range
clear
attack
speed.
is so bad.
Like, terrible clear speed, terrible DPS, because like you're wasting 20 points to grab dual totem for absolutely no damage progression at all. So probably not the greatest thing. Like might actually better just go one totem with like stun or something, but then you have to like waste extra links. Like on a dual totem with range attack totem, I think should really be reserved to wands, where you don't have to have a second 5 link for like some other attack. Because with bows, you have like a second 5 link for an attack. So you could have like a totem which is 5 linked, and then like an attack which is 5 linked, and then you're fine because you have like a really strong attack and a really strong totem to support it, and then like, oh, you can do both at the same time. So
I
I'm
actually
gonna
think
say-
your clear
I'm gonna
speed will be okay. It won't be the best, but it'll be alright.
yeah, but like
Word
totem.
viable is quite popular. It'll
Yeah,
probably be viable.
totem clear speed, which is
Totem viable, yes.
totem viable.
Which is 1/8 of any other build. But I think you should go crit bows for a bow stun build, because if you go crit bows, you'll be knocking back with King of the Hill, and that will give you less time, or more time without dying, because the mobs will be further away from you, and more time to stun, because you're not going to be able to kill them. So at least if you keep them away from you, you'll be able to have more time to stun. So I think you should go crit for knockback.
He'll stun him. I have full faith in Ghudda. It won't be super amazing, but he could probably reach 10k to 12k DPS.
Yeah, it's not gonna be great, but it's gonna be like, you know, achievable.
Yep.
It's gonna be workable. Like when you have 110 plus stun special reduction, you like, it's like shocking mobs. You do like 1 damage to the mob and you shock it. It doesn't require anything.
So, next question?
Comes in from Manthan, and at everyone, what's the situation of Comb's Heart? Maybe perhaps as a budget unique, as it costs 7 to 10 exalts, at least in Rampage. What do you got? Any guys have any thoughts on Comb's Heart?
I think
I
those are...
think-
Oh, go ahead, Box.
I was gonna say I think it's in a good spot right now because it's so cheap compared to what it used to be, and it can be very good for certain builds, such as Burn Discharger would benefit immensely off of Combs. Other than that, I can't really think of anything, but I'm really happy that the price, it went down from like 25 exaltas last league, so I think it's pretty cool.
My take on it is they nerfed percent life, and so flat life actually got a hit, so that nerfed to Combs. It was already underrated, or it was overrated, excuse me, to begin with. It cost way too much, and really you needed a two-hander of some sort to get your 6 link. I think Combs is finally in the spot it needs to be. Still might even be a little bit too expensive, and I'm glad to see this thing went down in price because there's so many better chests, even before the Lightning Coil Rave and the cast on, Koga Defiance. I was going to say cast on death, same abbreviation. What the hell, brain? Next question?
That one got deleted. Okay, this one's at me. What was your idea for a bow movement speed build? Mine is like the ranger riding the arrow, or like a blink strike. I don't know what was yours. I had two probably ideas. One was to have like a chain pull style thing where you fire like a tethered arrow and then it pulls you and knocking back enemies as you move through them, so it has that knockback. And the other one's like you fire an arrow and then that like puts down a smoke screen and you leap in and that knocks back enemies. So I think the key points to have for a bow movement skill is to have to be something unique. It could work like lightning strike and lightning warp in terms of the movement. And it could be maybe affected by projectile speed or something bow-like instead. So I think it should have some sort of flavor like that. And I think it should have some sort of defensive mechanic, preferably something that keeps mobs away from you. I think knockback would make the most sense. Like that's very synergistic and very thematic for bows to have enemies repelled away from you a short distance, so you have that range to fire your bow. So that's kind of what I think, something like that.
So
Do any of you other guys have any ideas?
Shield charge?
Like shield charge, except not terrible, and you can use it with a bow.
Shield charge is good, except you have to be melee to use it. That's the issue.
Yeah, the
whirling
thing would be like shield charge a bit.
And shield charge and whirling blades are just, I don't know. I don't know why bows need a movement speed skill. Like if you're in the need for movement speed skill with a bow or a wand, you've already fucked up to begin with because mobs are already on you.
Mm-hmm.
Like with melee, you walk into stuff and then mobs off screen lightning warp onto you, or say leap slam onto you. Oh, okay, now I need to get out of here. But with range, you just kind of tornado shot in the middle of a blank room, and oh, now I need to move the speed skill because now they're warping on me, and then why you've already screwed up being ranged.
I guess it goes for racing, or just in general terms of just if something were to happen, if I hate using this as an example, but if you get desynced somewhere, I've been shot into rooms before that have been closed that I haven't even opened, having the ability to just escape from something, or I don't know, devourers that pop up that you don't know, a devourer with powerful crits pop up, and then you just start running and the devourers start popping up. Having a burst of mobility go from point A to point B would be very nice. Or another thing is when you're strafing bosses, say you're doing, I don't know, Crematorium Fire Fury, and something's happening and there's firestorms covering the whole area. Just being able to get past point A to point B, just going through things or something would be really nice. That's the terms I would use it in.
The problem with Quicksilvers is you're prone to desync, and the problem with using a quartz flask is it's a quartz flask, and it's kind of maybe they should combine the two together, or release a good bow skill.
The problem with Quicksilver is that's a flask. That's one entire flask. That could have been a Rumi's concoction.
Yep.
Yeah.
So.
Anyway, I do know Rory is working on a bow skill. That's work in progress at the moment.
Ooh, speaking of,
that's coming.
Before we went live last podcast, with Carl and Rory, we subtly brought up shield skills that deal damage based off of your shield stats of some sort. Remember that, Ziggy? And they were we really we're keen to the idea of that. They're just really hard to balance, and we've thought of them. But they didn't deliver any information, whether they're making one or not. But what I got from it is it sounds like something they might be keen on doing in the future. What do you think, Zig?
I've liked that mechanic in other games, and I really like the idea of shields as an offensive thing, because historically shields were an offensive thing. They used offensively, used to attack in combat with, and I would like to see more of that in game. I'm down with that. But yeah, I can see how within the current game mechanics and the shield stats and mechanics and stuff are not at all planned around having skills like that. So they need to balance the skills around the existing items rather than kind of balancing them together, which would be a lot easier if they were to do it from the beginning. So I can see how that would be difficult. But yeah, I'd like to see something like that.
Why do spike shields not add shield charge damage?
Yeah, adding the reflector shield charge would be would be an easy addition to that. I mean, it wouldn't make much difference, but
Like Supreme Spike Shields can reflect like 250 damage. Like what if that was
That's
just
a
like
fair bit of
flat
fizz damage. Yeah.
like what if that was like flat damage added to shield charge? Then like shield charge might actually be useful. Who knows?
I might actually play shield charge with that. That would be
I mean,
cool.
there's a couple shield charge builds, being like you just stack all crit damage and just proliff, but
But
it'd
that's
be nice
every
to
build.
see. Yeah, exactly. If a skill is bad, then you just say, all right, let's just get 800% crit multi and then one shot, and then
Proliff and proliff and proliff.
Yeah. So
Like why not just use Spectral Throw or Ground Slam or any other skill, anything else except Shield Charge, which does not work. It's like yeah, you can use Shield Charge, except why would you want to?
The only thing that makes shield charge work is Ignite Proliff, and that's because Ignite Proliff is its own thing.
You need Avatar Fire and Chernobyls and all this craziness and just
that's-
proliff, boys, proliff. That's most commonly asked question. Why not just proliff? You should proliff your cold snap. I'm just like, okay, yeah, but I could freeze proliff and like, no, Cult to Fire with Avatar Fire and you're like, stop the fire, proliff people.
Well,
Freeze
if you want to
is
be on
good.
build of the week, you got to make a fire proliff build. Don't you know
Yeah,
the
there's-
rules?
It's honestly,
A Herald of Ash Proliff. It's the way to get on Bill of the Week.
I think
like-
so
I would not be sad if they nerfed the hell out of Ignite for just a solid year. I would be so happy. Like,
One
hell,
season, no fire.
you know, one season, no proliff fire, I would be the happiest man alive. The QQ
Like,
would be real, but I don't care.
I would like to see a league where the element of proliferation gem was just removed.
that would be so crazy.
They like to
Well-
test these challenge leagues for doing things like
Yeah,
that.
they do.
So,
Like what if
I mean,
LA
the
Proliff
challenging
was
challenge
just
league would be a
gone?
nice chance to do that.
Like there's
Interesting
Herald
to
of
see
Ash
what the game was like.
kind of like make up for it, but like what if what if LA Proliff was just gone?
Could you
Is
imagine
LA
a universe?
Yeah, LA Proliff is like the most broken gem in the game. Like everything in the game is just amplified by elemental proliferation. Like oh, one gem slot, I do twice as much damage because there used to be like 3 shock stacks. It's like oh, one gem makes my damage just hit the whole screen like with Ignite. Like one gem, like oh okay, it just give me 10 times the AoE. It was like the increased AoE gem.
Like, I don't mind Cult to Fire, I don't mind Avatar Fire, I mind Fire Proliff. Anyways, let's change the subject. Next question.
This question I think is really good because it's something I'm pretty sure we all want to address because it frustrates all of us. The community, this is from Weissenberg, the community has gone crazy about builds being adversary viable. Do you guys think there's still room for less strong but fun, unique builds in PoE? So I think the main point of this is every build has to be adversary viable. Every build needs to be do adversary or it's not a good build.
And I think that is due to some streamers or Reddit, an example. People saying build sucks unless you could kill Atziri, nice build. That crap is stupid. Play the game to have fun. You don't need to kill Atziri to have fun. I've killed her on standard.
Adversary is like a
whoop-de-doo.
tiny corner piece of endgame content. It's like up here in my webcam. It's one piece. And in the future, Path of Exile, I hope looks like this is something GG have said in the past, so I hope this happens soon, is that we have multiple different Uber bosses like Atziri, or multiple forms of endgame content that each require different gearing. And we have that already. Maps require different gearing to doing Atziri, and different builds are good at doing maps that are doing different that are good at doing Atziri. I mean, like an Incinerate build is still really strong in maps, but doesn't have as high clear speed as other things, but is really good at killing Atziri. And then, the maps that builds that are really good at clearing maps really quickly, maybe not be as good as Atziri. And I think that's the way it should be. Different tools for different jobs. I don't think every build should be able to do everything in the game.
I played a
And I think that's bad for the game.
I played a great cold snap build. Like, I froze double Dominus, minus max, GMP. It was great. Palace Dominus. I was like, look at this. And like, your build sucks. You can't do Atziri. I was like, all right, man. I'm tired of this. Like, I'm tired of it. Like, the Atziri drama, get out of here with it. That's my take. Pox, I know what you're gonna say.
1v1 me IRL. That's it. Done. I'm not saying anything else about it.
What do you think, Ghudda? Do you think all builds, including your minus move speed builds, need to be answer viable?
I really dislike the Atziri fight. There's like multiple reasons why. Like first off, the Vol version, like basically getting there means you aren't melee. Because you're melee, you get one shot by the just trash. Because the Vol fallen hit for like 5,000 damage. So don't be melee for one. For the Vols are easy. It's just like a really mechanical fight. The second boss fight, Immortal Call through it, and then you win. And then Atziri have more than enough cap resists to just tank all the damage, or avoid enough of it to where you don't actually have to care and just keep dealing damage. Like that's like the Aziri fight for me. Like that's one of the whole problems with the fight. It's like, well, if you have all the tools to just beat her, you beat her, and then like if you don't, if you get hit by one flame blast and die, you die because you'll never ever dodge every single flame blast. Like the Aziri fight itself is just kind of like badly designed. It's like Immortal Call through it all, and then you just get to Aziri, and then okay, elemental resistance through it all. Like I wish there were more. Yeah, like I wish there were.
I kind of like Aziri overall. I think mechanically it's a fairly interesting fight, and it is about creating a build for the fight, which I think is good. It adds an extra reason to create a different type of build. So I kind of like that that's in the game. But yeah, I think the key point that most of us want to stress is that not all builds should kill Aziri, or even strive to kill Aziri, and it's not a requirement of a build to be able to kill Aziri. If you want an Aziri build, you should look for an Aziri build, an Aziri farming build, or a build that is Aziri capable as well as what you want to do. But yeah, different tools for different jobs.
But like the problem is like Aziri is the only endgame boss, and if you can't kill Aziri, you build shit.
Yeah, exactly. It's the mentality of the community about it.
Yeah.
I think once we add more, it'll be better.
Like there need to be more bosses that are just like totally endgame, like just in the game. It's like, oh, this build can't be hurt by crit damage. Like, oh, okay, well, I guess my crit build that annihilates everything else doesn't work for shit here. Like 9% crit chance rate means I do 90% less damage. So, like, well, shit. Like, what do I do here? They're just like a massive dichotomy or something like that.
Cannot be crit boss. Oh man.
I do think that GGG needed to put in an endgame boss, and I do like that boss like endgame. But I'm with Ghudda where it's just like it's either it's specific mechanics, and once you have them and you have the DPS, it's dead. And it's all or nothing, and if your build can't do it, it's bad. And it doesn't help that the community, not all of the community, but some of the community supports that, where you could do a level 78 map, and you could do crazy Dominus Palace fights, but because the boss is immune to freeze, you can't do it. Or because you don't have low life and the chevrons, you can't do Uber Aziri. The problem is it's very specific to niche builds, and I would like to see a new boss that's the exact opposite of Aziri, where other builds can do it, but the specific niche builds for Aziri cannot. Yeah, that's
like exactly what I want to say.
Aziri not being able to be ignited is just like, oh, you're playing Night build? Fuck you. Yeah. Go away. Go away. Elsewhere. Your fire trap does 1,000 damage, and that's it. It doesn't do like 10 times the damage over time.
It didn't help that all the builds that could do Aziri could do Death and Taxes. It was like, low life spectral throw. Well, here's Death and Taxes map. Low life spectral throw, It's just like further enhancing the Aziri flavor. Next question.
So this one kind of ties in a little bit. Reap this Whirlwind. Do you think it's too difficult or time-consuming to farm Aziri sets now since the change to archives? And I guess that's also the change to like it not spawning in the first zone in each act as well. If you think this is, how would you change it and perhaps improve farming corrupted fragments? So what do you guys think about? We talked about this a little bit earlier in the podcast when we were talking about Val Orbs, how it's quite difficult. Like the spawn rates of these things are quite low now. But I also think it's not like the time consuming of it, despite like the demand on these things, it's still doesn't feel very profitable. I did corrupted zone farming testing before the change, like in the patch just before the change, and even like right at the end of the league, it was still really profitable farming corrupted side zones. But now it feels not so profitable. I'm sure there's some people out there who are making good profits, and people are like, oh, I make heaps of money doing that. But I think it's not very profitable for a lot of people to do. Only a few people that do it really well and who are built for it. So yeah, I don't know. I do feel like it's a bit funny.
Someone made a really interesting post on Reddit about adding to strong boxes, or some sort of strong box has a chance to drop a shard, an Aziri shard, map shard, or has a chance to drop a Val Orb. Not Val Orb, Val Gems. 2 strong boxes, more prevalent, or making its own. That was actually a really good read. It was a really good read. Adding some sort of Aziri shard to boxes, kind of just as rare as maybe has a chance to drop a unique. I don't know. I think it would be a pretty cool idea. Anyone else?
I think it makes sense though that they have toned down this because they wanted to shift the focus away from Aziri for this expansion onto the Forsaken Masters. So it makes sense that they toned it back, and that's the reason why they did.
Good.
No more dailies. No more dailies. Make the nightmare end.
There's actually some people I know are still farming 3 to 4 Aziri sets a day, in their areas. They don't tell me where it is. I don't really want to know. It's their secret. But I still think that... actually, wait a second. There is one thing I forgot to mention. The map Vaults of Atziri has 8 Vol statues. That is one thing, actually. So I think right now it's in an okay state. I do agree that it's harder for newer players to, get into this stuff, but for the people that know how to farm it, I think they're the ones keeping the economy stable with it.
True.
Yeah.
All right. Next question. Yes. No more Tsiri. I like that.
Yep. A question about phase run from Broly. Ideas on if phase run can return, or how would it return if it would? So the history of phase run is, for those of you guys don't know, it was I think it was removed in the transition from beta to live release, and it was a movement skill. It was basically, before Quicksilver was in the game, it was the move speed buff. You would activate the skill, your character would do a little animation, they would turn pseudo invisible, and you would get a run speed boost, and then your first melee hit while in phase run would have a damage boost. And the design intention for it from ZiggyD was for it to be a buff for melee, like a way to initiate fights as melee, and that's what they wanted to focus to be. But literally every single build used phase run, because if you want it to be a fast clearing build, you need high movement speed. So if you have the movement speed, you're going to use it. And since no Quicksilvers existed, that's like how people got their move speed. So everyone used it, no matter what the build, and it was very rarely ever used for melee as an initiator. So they removed it and instead implemented Quicksilvers, which have the same impact, but it doesn't take up a skill slot, and it can, you have to balance it around your other flasks and stuff like that. And obviously everyone uses Quicksilvers most of the time, unless they have a build that has some other movement mechanic. So the question of bringing it back is, how do you make something that just not everyone's going to use again, and how do you make it interesting and themed for melee? And I don't know the answer to that, and I don't think GGG does either, so I think that's probably just shelved with no real plans to return. One of those.
Yeah, one big problem I foresee, scrapping the movement speed part, it gave you additional damage on your next hit, right?
Oh, I know what's coming.
Prolif.
Herald of Ash and Prolif. You walk up with Heavy Strike, you slap that mob, he will Prolif kill a boss, because it was a huge damage increase.
It was like a 180 multiplier. Something.
Yeah, it was huge. You cannot put that in like that. I mean, these builds are already ridiculous. Now you're gonna see melees walking up with Hegemony's era staff, Prolif crit, walk up, slam him with 800% multiplier, Prolif the whole screen. Anything that comes in a range dies,
no.
Which would be pretty badass. But
we could keep that gem buried next to Jumanji, never to be found again. Next.
From the Dragon's Eye, why do you think that Frenzy was nerfed so hard? So I think Frenzy, they wanted it just to be a utility skill for generating charges, and then for it to only be good as single target in builds that went ridiculously on stacking for as many Frenzy charges as possible. I'm talking getting the corrupted Frenzy charge as well. It was a pretty hard nerf, though. I will agree to that.
Terrible nerf. I'm still beating myself up for not asking Carl and Rory why they nerfed it.
It's limiting the single target options, isn't it? Quite a bit.
I don't mind the damage nerf if they drastically lower the mana cost. The mana cost of Frenzy, if you don't know, it's elemental hit nearly, and to sustain that, you need either a Soul Taker or a crap load of Mana Leech. But the problem with Frenzy is you're attacking so fast that your Mana Leech is insignificant almost, and because they nerfed the Leech in general. Frenzy's in a bad point right now. It's terrible. Ghudda, I know you probably have a lot of knowledge about this.
Yeah, like Frenzy before, you couldn't maintain the mana cost and scale a ton of mana or a ton of mana regenerators, like Mana Leech with a ton of mana. Having your mana cap so high that you could just leech through it for the most part. If you had a Lioness Glare, which gives 100 mana, that's a pretty decent amount of mana. And you could kind of leech through the mana cost of Frenzy before, but now, why would you bother using it in the first place? That's the issue. What's the benefit of using Frenzy even as a bow skill? Frenzy was always worthless as a melee skill because there's better things available, like Glacial Hammer or Heavy Strike. What's the benefit there?
And plus, there's so many ways to get Frenzy charges now. You're
yeah. Why do you need to use Frenzy to begin with?
The only reason I used Frenzy in my 10 Frenzy build was because Dark Ray is a 50% reduced duration, so it was the most efficient way to keep my charges. But I mean, it's so gimmicky. The nerf was not warranted at all. The damage before was okay, but you still had to use melee splash.
Yeah, I didn't really think it was that prevalent because I was playing a Frenzy Rower build a while back when I guess Frenzy would have been at its height, and I still didn't really consider it to be that great. Like Conk Effect Rower was generally better anyway, and like it was not really that much of an improvement to worry about getting a 6 link for. So I don't know.
Now there's
I never felt like
puncture. Well, there's always
yeah,
been puncture.
and on a fizz build now, puncture is like it has been always pretty good, but kind of lying in the distance. But now with the bow buffs, it's so good, so good.
Yeah, now that you can actually get a good physical build that's not a Lioness Glare, with like high crit and high damage. It's like, oh, it does as much damage as the Lioness Glare, but now it has like 9% chance to crit. So puncture is actually worthwhile because you can crit relatively easily and commonly with it.
Trap point blank gem on a puncture.
Oh my god, it's ridiculous.
Yeah, get no DOT nodes. Like back when I had like DOT nodes, even it was just still kind of like, it works, but it's not like great. It's workable. It does damage. But now like 500 multiplier with a bow, and it's just like it's just wreck shit.
All right, so I think we got time for one more question because we got a race starting up here, and we got a lot of people that's probably want to go itch to do this race. So let's kick it off.
What is the race?
This
one upcoming.
Solo, is it solo or is it party?
Cool. Keen for the next set of burst races. I'll be doing those. All right, last question. What do you guys think of the current? This is probably a big question to ask for the last 5 minutes. From Weissenberg? What do you guys think is the current state of Melee? I think Melee lacks diversity. That's my simplest, like the biggest problem I think is probably lacking in diversity at this point of like, you know, what is strong. Reave or bust.
Good.
Yeah, I'm trying to think, like, Melee is really, it's, as I said, with the lack of diversity, it's really like hit or miss. There are some really good Melee builds, and there are some really bad Melee builds. There are some really good Melee builds that are really good, but they suck at clear speed. There are some really, really, really super tanky builds that are really, really, really good, but they're lacking like one of everything else. So it's kind of, I still think kind of like the lack of diversity is definitely there. There's like, you have Flicker Strike, which is kind of, you can still play it. It's kind of weird. It's got pretty good clear speed. You've got Reave, you've got Cyclone, and Ground Slam. And that's everything off the top of my head. I'm sure there's more.
It's really easy to simplify this. If the skill uses Melee Splash, it's an extra link that something like Reave or Cleave or any type of automatically built-in AoE suffers from. You automatically lose damage the minute you put in Melee Splash, and I think it's the current state of Melee. Everyone's like, well, you don't need Melee Splash, you know, Cyclone, Reave, and Cleave, those are your good ones because you don't need Melee Splash. Things like Flicker, where they have a very high multiplier, it's somewhat okay and has a very high clear speed, but then, you know, desync rippiness. I think that's what's coming down to. If you use Melee Splash, your build's bad. That's what I see quite a bit. Ghudda?
Melee. So yeah, if you don't use multi-strike, you die. If you do use multi-strike, you desync. So it's like, God, Melee is like in such a bad position. Yeah, that's all I can really say. Like, just don't play Melee is like the general consensus. Just don't do it. If you want to play Melee, play something that's not true Melee, like Heavy Strike or
something that has range.
Yeah, like
Melee is frustrating to play.
It's so frustrating.
For me personally, it's just that range is always like infinitely more fun than a true Melee build.
Yeah,
like something like Spectral Throw is going to be way more fun than something like a double strike Melee Splash build for me.
Yeah, like Lightning Strike or Spectral Throw, it's just like it just clears better than like Double Strike or Heavy Strike. Like you don't have to worry about it. Like you just click in the mob's directions and you do damage that way. Like Split Arrow is probably the easiest thing to ever level up. Tornado Shot's probably even easier than Split Arrow because you're just like, oh, there's mobs in that direction. Click in that direction and then you just kind of like kill things. But Melee, you have to like run in the direction, and sometimes like the mobs that are in the front of the pack aren't actually in the front of the pack; they're in like the back of the pack. So if you just like mouse lock them, then you don't actually attack them when you think you're attacking them because you're desynced, and it just like keeps adding the problem. So,
and it doesn't suit this current meta clear speed, really clear speed focus meta, which is that you can kill things without having to get up to them. And that's just what range gets. So just you just get so much more clear speed. Like when everyone has when everyone's almost one-shotting things, you want the thing that can one-shot things from across the screen. That's kind of what it comes down to.
Yeah.
Alrighty, want to talk us out, Zeno?
Alrighty. Thank you again, guys, for tuning in. We appreciate it. This concludes episode 18. Ghudda, thanks for coming by. You know, it's been chill. I think we're all a little buzzing. I'm sure you're past buzzing.
Whole gun of rum, actually.
A gun of rum today on the episode of State of Exile.
A whole gun of
Now that's a shot.
That's the true giveaway. We're giving away the gun. No, kidding.
Oh.
Kidding.
Try
Thanks.
to-
Okay, Ghudda.
I'll try to do the world's worst giveaway. I'll have like a big text document full of random string entries, and I'll just place the actual entries somewhere in that whole document, just for someone to just keep inputting
Most
things.
trolling,
until they finally get it.
frustrating giveaway. Wow, that's
Yep.
perfect.
That is the best way to give away your MTX. So Ghudda's going to give away his 2 MTX codes by putting the codes somewhere in a notepad document, and you have to find them. That is glorious.
My God.
That is glorious indeed. All right, so thanks, Grinding Gear Games, again for allowing this thing to happen. I mean, we'd probably do it anyways, but you guys help us out quite a bit. So thank you very much for the MTX as well as supporting this podcast. You guys are awesome over there, and I hope you got a good couple of laughs and some good insight this episode. Also, I want to thank Twitch again. Thanks, guys, for getting this on the front page and getting PoE some recognition. Yeah, recognition. Whew. And then please understand, guys, that we do make errors on this podcast. None of us are perfect. It's just supposed to be a fun, laid-back thing. And then, lastly, episode 19, we got Angry AA. Maybe he'll wake up for this one, but he is back for episode 19. I want to
He
ask
said he's setting 4 alarms.
He's 4 alarms. Jeez, I'm gonna try and ask somebody else for episode 19. It's a non-streamer, so there's some hype there. And then for episode 20, Chris Wilson said that he would come back gladly.
Krilson.
And that will be set for November 30th if you're NA or EU, and December 1st if you're in the glorious continent of Australia. So thanks, guys, for tuning in. Much love and respect, and stay tuned for some MTX. We're out.
Alrighty, see you guys. It was good fun.
Take care, everybody.
See you next time.